All right, everybody. Thursday night's live well is here. We appreciate you guys joining us. We got a great show for you tonight. Got Trent Palmer with Sonar Pros here, the best in the business. We're going to be talking about sonar and anything else you guys want to talk about fishing related. So we're so glad you could join us. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you click that bell, that notification bell, like, subscribe, give us thumbs up, all that great stuff. And on all our social media at Fish North Georgia, make sure you go check us out there. So let's go ahead and do the business part. And let's get our sponsors. Speaking of the man right beside me, Sonar Pros right there. Pull that up, 770-530-4505. Guys, I say it every single episode. You can take it elsewhere. You're going to end up taking it to Trent, get it fixed. So go ahead and go to the best in the business down there in Cumming, Georgia. And while I got you, what's the address down there to that new place?
5315 Lake Point Center Drive. I think we're planning to have kind of our grand opening with some pretty cool guests December, January time.
January. Yep. So perfect. So he's got the facility now so they can handle it. Moving up in the world right there. So next, of course, we got Kevin Underwood with Lipsticker Fishing. Guys, you see it every single day on his page and on our Fish North Georgia group page. The guy can put you on some big spotted bass on Lake Lanier. So check him out. You can get him on Facebook at Lipsticker Fishing or go to his website, www.lipstickerfishing.com. Then we've got Evolve rod sleeves from Evolve Fishing out of Texas. We say it all the time, the best rod sleeve on the market. Not only does it float and have all the protective things you want, it keeps your hooks from getting tangled up. You know how the basic rod sleeves are. So go ahead and invest in Evolve rod sleeves out there. And then we got our buddies over at Festive Water Paddle Sports off Highway 369. You can check them out at www.festivewater.com. And one of the things, if you listen here while I'm talking about the Toys for Tots tournament we're going to be throwing, I got a big announcement from them. But whatever you're into, paddle sports, I said it last week, if you're into that yoga out there on the water, you can do that, or they'll set you up in a great fishing kayak. So go check them out. And then the best lure retriever on the market, the Money Saver Lure Retriever. Hey, you spend a lot of money on all those baits, you might as well have the lure retriever that's going to get them out. We got them at Fish North Georgia. So come by, check them out. But the Money Saver Lure Retriever. If you're in the Jasper, Georgia area, let's hit that wide right there behind me so we can show all these people that beautiful sign back there. Turner Tire. If you got alignment, you need tires, anything, go to a local family-owned business. That's Turner Tire in Jasper, Georgia, 706-253-3339. Tell Brock, the guys at Fish North Georgia, sent you. All you guys in the comments. Let's get our last sponsor out there. You good?
Oh, yeah.
You good right there, baby? All right, so we got Etowah Mead Beer and Wine. They're celebrating their 5th year anniversary up in Dahlonega, Georgia. Hey, mead, it's Viking beer, okay? It's like the oldest fermented beverage, and it's still good today. They got all these great different flavors. Go check them out. They got a great facility, and the brewery is right there. And if you don't live in Dahlonega, hey, they can ship mead to you. So check out their website, Etowah Mead Beer and Wine right there. So what's going on, everybody? I'm going to get to you guys here in a second. Bass Fishing Live. The new shop is badass right there. So, yeah.
Hey, swung by today.
That's good. So, let's go ahead and talk about, get this out of the way. December 7th, okay, Fish North Georgia and the Big Shanty Bassmasters present the Toys for Tots tournament brought to you by Digital Sportsman, okay? And over the next few days, I'm going to read off all our sponsors right here real quick, but you're going to hear a lot about these. If you are a guide in North Georgia, in South Georgia, you're going to want to talk to me about Digital Sportsman. It's a new platform that will help you guys book, take care of all sorts of things. It is the American way to go. Fishing Booker, you got those things. They're from overseas. We're going to get rid of those. You're going to check out Digital Sportsman. We're going to help you set it up right there, and it's free to you guys. It's free. So I'm going to be having some information on that. Now, on this tournament, again, December 7th, $5,000 guaranteed first place prize. The money is there. It's going to happen. Your entry fee is $80. 60 of that goes to the pot. 20 goes to big fish. We get 100, 200 boats. That's going to be a very big fish tournament. Let me go ahead and shout out these sponsors. Buford Dam Bait and Tackle, Lipsticker Fishing, Brooks Anderson Fishing, the Armed Forces Fishing League, which is a Bassmaster team trail. They've jumped on board. You got For Her Outdoor Apparel. Etowah Church is involved. Roy Brown Construction and Sonar Pros. And there's others that are going to be coming on soon. So we want to thank all those companies. Now, how do you sign up for it? You can go to Buford Dam Bait and Tackle, which is located at 2595 Buford Dam Road in Cumming, Georgia. You can go in there and you can pre-register. Pre-registration is open until the Wednesday before the tournament. All right, you're going to blast off in the order that you sign up. So if you want to early blast off, go ahead and get pre-registered now. And with that $80 entry fee, every angler has to bring 2 unwrapped toys to help support the Hall County Toys for Tots. So a couple of things with that. All right, this is pretty cool. The Armed Forces Fishing League sent me $80 today to cover a spot for a first responder, whether you're a cop, firefighter, active military, or a veteran. How we're going to do this, okay? You've got to message me, Danny Pruitt, on Facebook. Give me your name. We're going to put them all in a hat. And next Thursday's live, we're going to pull a name out of the hat. And your entry fee is already paid for, you and your partner. So as long as one person in that team is, a first responder, the Armed Forces Fishing League has already paid for you. So that drawing is going to be next Thursday. And guys, hey, throw your name in the pot. It's going to be a really good time. So, and also for you kayak guys out there, you guys have been talking to us about, hey, what can the kayak guys do? Festive Waters and Fish North Georgia are going to throw a kayak tournament the same day in conjunction with the Toys for Tots. So details on that will be coming out. I talked to Nathan down there and the guys. This is going to happen. Got to talk with the Big Shanny. All that's going to happen. And so you guys are going to have a chance to participate, and those rules and all that will be coming out shortly. So watch the Fish North Georgia group page. From here on out to the tournament, I'm going to be shouting out the great sponsors, all the details with the tournament. It's going to be a great time. The broadcast of the weigh-in will be on YouTube right here. And so, hey, you're going to get to see my face calling out the weights of all these guys bringing these big spotted bass and largemouth from Lake Lanier and giving somebody a $5,000 check and getting the kayak guy, whoever wins that, to come across the stage as well. So, all right, everybody, let's see. Do you need to come up into the store to sign up for the Toys for Tots tournament? If you can't make it down to Buford Dam Bait and Tackle, you can come up here to Fish North Georgia, and you can, if you're out of state, call me. We'll figure it out. I'll make sure you get your boat number, and we're going to do all that. So, if anyone has a spot for a co-angle, well, he's going to fish the kayak thing. So, anyway, guys, listen, we got Trent, and I wanted to do a very specific kind of a show because people ask me all these kind of sonar questions, and I don't know anything about it. So the best guy around does. So if you guys in the comment section have a specific question for Trent about your boat's electronics, about a particular graph, a setup, whatever, definitely throw it out there, and I'm going to make sure he answers it. But we'll start off until we get some of those questions coming. We'll just start off and just say, what is going on with you here lately there, Trent?
Getting ready for a tournament, leave tomorrow.
Yeah.
Drive like 14 hours to Missouri. So that's fun.
Ought to be.
But been busy with installs.
Yep.
We're getting close to what would be perceived as the slow season. So if guys are looking to get work here soon, we're not too bad out on lead times right now. This time of year is interesting because everyone starts getting their camo on and stop caring about their boats. So
right.
If you guys need to get work done, this is a good time to get with us for sure. But yeah, we're getting close to getting some pros. We got some pros boats starting to come in the next month. So it's going to get busy again here soon.
Now I want to say hello to Miss Terry. The good looking one is in the crowd tonight. So, hey, Terry, I want you to definitely be watching about 50 minutes to an hour in for the question of the night. That's all I'm going to say right there. So, let's see. I'm just checking out the things, making sure. Chris Wallace, Danny, thanks for letting me sit in with you guys this morning. Enjoyed the hospitality. Hey, anytime, buddy. Alex has got a question. Would Sonar Pros sell the supplies to build a harness for my kayak?
Yeah, we build kayak harnesses all the time. Kayaks are a little different than bass boats in the sense that every kayak is not built the same, and with different battery requirements. Guys are putting batteries in the back in dry boxes. They're putting them in storage boxes. So it's definitely one of those things where while we have our harness builder on our website, I'd recommend giving us a call, and we can kind of figure out number one, how things should be laid out in your boat, and then we can build a harness to support that. And the big thing with our harness, big thing for kayak guys, is it's fully IP65 waterproof rated, which kayaks are known to not be the most dry things in the world sometimes.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, this one right here behind me is mine.
It is?
Yeah.
Looks like it's never been in the water.
It hasn't. Westbrook just gave it to me right there. So, we might have to work out a deal or something like that for that. Also, Jeff Hodges wanted me to remind you that you are getting married soon.
Yeah, I get back from Ozarks. I'm home for 3 days, and I get married.
You looking forward to it?
Yeah, we just picked up our marriage license today.
Are you nervous?
Yeah. No, I'm excited to for the wedding planning stuff to be done.
That's a ladies thing.
Yeah, love my fiance to death.
Yeah.
It's been great in the sense that up until like 3 weeks ago, I really didn't have to do much other than pick out alcohol, taste the food, and like the fun stuff. And now it's been like, hey, this vendor needs this vendor. Now it's like,
So my son got married a couple weeks ago, and I was lucky. My wife handles all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But boy, the stress level.
Yeah.
I mean, and the mothers, and I mean, all the family's stressed right up into the moment it's done.
100%. Yeah.
That's why everybody drinks so much after a wedding, and all the white people get out there and dance, and it's just
and like
it's the whitest dance in the world.
Yeah, the goal is to make it fun for everyone. And I think that's part of the stress is like making sure you have enough drinks and food and all that stuff. So
and that stuff adds up.
Yeah,
I'm going to buy it.
I'm in the wrong business. I know that much.
No doubt. So Alex says we'll be hitting you up. I'm adding a 16 volt and a live scope, and I want to do it right. Well, you know where to
the fiance's on there.
Where's she at?
Alexis Cook.
Alexis, don't let him fool you about wedding planning. I'm just going to say right now, you're a beautiful lady and you're very patient to deal with this mug right here like that. So, but congratulations. Congratulations. Yeah. Marriage should be celebrated right there. So, hope everything goes well with that.
Yeah, she's a good one.
Oh, yeah.
She goes to all the tournaments. She's very supportive.
Has to be. I was kind of on that. And I'm going to get Jason Jones is going to be the next question. But when Jordan Lee came in here, he had his wife and all that. And I was talking to her, and I was like, do you travel with him? And she says, I'll go everywhere with him except when he goes up to like New York.
Yeah,
she doesn't make that trip.
The far trips. Yep.
And so you don't really think about the family behind the scenes that are going, with you guys.
And she's a teacher, so it kind of sometimes tournaments will align because they got breaks all the time.
Yeah.
So sometimes it'll align where she can go for a whole week with me, or like the last event we had on Saginaw, she flew up at the tail end of day one and then was up there for that week.
What did she teach? What grade?
3rd.
Bless your heart right there.
Yeah.
Where at?
Chestatee Elementary.
Oh, I know Chestatee. Yep. There you go. Well, it's Alexis.
Alexis.
Man, I'm terrible with names. Yep. You've heard me pronounce.
And it's pronounced Cook. She's excited to drop that last name because it can be. It can be mispronounced in odd ways.
I bet it could.
Yeah.
Right there. I'm not making fun of your name. I just know I would murder it. Jason Jones, but congratulations, son. Good for you guys. Hope everything goes good and y'all get 50, 60 years out of each other. Jason Jones, could a canoe compete in a kayak competition? What are the delineations? Did I say that right?
I think so.
That sounded
good.
I don't know, buddy. I don't. One of you kayak guys need to answer that in the comment because I do not know. But I would say, why not? Why not right there? So Tracy Coker, all right, here's a good one. Why would my depth go blank on my Helix 7 while trolling in less than 10 foot of water? It's connected to an Ultrex with a built-in transducer. Only does it once or twice a day.
When you say your depth is going blank, like physically losing sonar, or your like data overlay that says how many feet you are, is that going away? That's the only clarification I need, and I can help from there.
All right, so put that clarification in there, Tracy, if you don't mind.
Yes to the first or second part.
Yeah, there was 2 questions. Is the entire sonar going blank, or is just the depth marking on it?
Reading going.
So depth.
The depth of reading is
I
going.
would assume that's what he's saying. Yeah.
It depends. If it's the built-in transducer in Ultrex, which is referred to as a US2 transducer, those are pretty notorious. After a decent amount of runtime, the epoxy inside of them will start to fail. So what's possibly happening is you're losing a little bit of bottom depth. Like he's not getting a hard enough return in shallower water, and it's causing that depth of reading to not read properly. So number one, if you have a US2 transducer, is what I'm assuming you have in the Ultrex, check your adapter. Those, if they get unthreaded just a little bit, they will cause reading issues. Second thing is, in your Helix, go into your network settings and make sure your 2D source is set to that unit and not a remote unit. Those are the things I would look at first.
Okay, well, there you go. Love that. All right, Eric B. Richards. Right there. Did I miss a question? I haven't got the cash braid in yet. I think they're waiting to get all their stuff in from Australia and everything. So Eric B. Richards right there on the bottom. What makes Garmin Livescope graph go blurry for 5 seconds or so and then back to normal? Seems to do it sporadically.
So if you're on the second to last software, which the new software just came out last week, that was a known issue with the most recent software that also would reduce in your AHRS kind of getting out of balance, and your sonar will seesaw on the screen. So make sure you're on the newest software that came out last week, and if it will fix that issue. If you still have the blurry issue after the update, need to contact Garmin, because that's an early sign that one of your transducer crystals is probably going bad and needs to be warranted.
All right, there. So there you go. I love when you start saying RH and all these little
acronyms.
I'm like,
yeah.
I don't know what in the hell he's talking about, but he sounds smart. Matthew Smith, Sonar Pros did a full install on my Triton earlier this year, top quality and service, and still operating perfectly.
That's what we like to hear.
That's the way it is. But I will tell you this, and I think Trent will back me up. If you have an issue, the man will solve it. You just bring it back or something like that, 100%.
99% of the time.
99. Well, yeah, there's always that one.
There's
guy.
always an outlier. We still get stumped here and there sometimes.
Well, yeah, but all right, or you get the guy that comes in and buys a fishing rod that you know is it's a medium spinning rod, and he talks about boat flipping 10-pound bass on it. He goes, I don't know why the hell it broke up at the top and everything. I got an idea why. So, Ron Swinford, Trent, how often when you go fishing do you turn all the electronics off and just go and have some fun shallow?
Never.
Now you like that scoping?
I have not just scoping. I mean, I've enjoyed electronics fishing since I was a kid.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to use an old Eagle fish finder to find the grass lines on a lake in Wisconsin to target muskie and largemouth there. So for me, I really have always had an adoption towards electronics.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's fun whether I'm using them or I'm not using them. I mean, for me, it's all about just targeting fish. I'm going to use whatever techniques can get more fish in the boat, whether that's using electronics or not using electronics.
Yeah.
So for me, I mean, linear specifically, like when I do go fun fishing, like I'm at least going to have mapping just to run my trees and stuff like that. But like, I mean,
do you ever just beat the bank? I'm just out of curiosity.
I won a BFL on Lake Hartwell, and I caught every single fish in less than a foot of water in a buzzbait.
Yeah, so he does it. So it can be done. The man can do it.
I can do it with or without. It don't matter to me.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you know what? I hate these. I'm not even going to say what I want to call them. Guys out there who say, if they're a scoper, that's the only way they can catch fish. That's the only reason they're there and all that. I'm like, these guys have got more talent and they can fish
100%.
any different way.
Yeah.
And you pick out one thing they do, and just because it's popular and it's needed on a lot of lakes, and you make that assumption, and it's just.
I think you're hearing less and less of that, though, because the explanations that have gone out about these people still catching fish without their electronics.
Yeah, for sure.
So you don't hear as much complaining anymore.
No, you don't. And really, I mean, how many videos can Block It make on it? You know what I'm saying? So
about 3.
Only so many.
I'm just waiting to see what his
he's
next.
teaching how to rig the little worm now.
The little worm. I want to see what his next great adventure is right there. So, DA wants to know. All right, let's pull that one up. How can you get rid of? I call it tilt-a-whirl on Garmin Livescope, where it spins and can't find its orientation.
Yep. So that's again, if you're on the second to most recent software, so if you haven't updated your software since last week, there is a known issue with current software that is causing the AHRS, which is essentially the stabilization feature in your Garmin, that is causing that setting to essentially get to a point where your transducer on the screen is going to seesaw back and forth. Number one thing, make sure on the most recent software. I know that's an easy answer, but really that has fixed a ton of boats here recently. The second thing is, if you are having the seesaw effect, even with the new software, I highly recommend calibrating your compass. Really easy to get to that screen. On your Garmin screen, you're going to go to menu, sonar setup, installation, and calibrate compass and follow the on-screen directions. After that is done, if it still doesn't fix it, then more than likely your position sensor in the transducer is stuck, which is essentially a out of box, or not out of box, but a failure that would require warranty, or if you're out of warranty, replacement of transducer. Now, if the calibration doesn't fix it and you're out of warranty, a trick you can do is turn AHRS off, and then you can change your tilt position in degrees to level out your bottom. So that's a little workaround. You will have to adjust it throughout the day, but if your transducer is out of warranty and your position sensor stuck, you can turn AHRS off and set the tilt angle manually.
I wonder how many guys out there got a notepad and a pen and they're writing like that. But slow down.
Why so many updates? You would think that they would fix all these issues before they ever came out with something.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things. Part of it's they're always trying to improve things too.
Right.
So like, they'll come out with Gen 1 and then the software, and they'll just kind of make iterations. Well, what happens, unfortunately, is they think they're making an improvement on one setting or calibration, whatever, and then it has an alternative effect where it causes an issue that they don't find out till it goes in the field for a while.
Setting
yeah.
or something
So
like that.
The last update,
Would
causing
they
this.
test that though for a month, 2 months, 3 months for
It's been about 2 months that it's been a known issue that it started popping up. The good news, Garmin specifically, because of how big a company they are, when they have issues, they fix it quick.
I would imagine, but with all that's involved in one of those, the variables, I don't know that you actually could really test for that in real time in like whatever they call it. What the hell is it when they're figuring something out before they put a product out? I mean,
R&D.
Research and development.
Research and development. But I mean, think of all it's got to be thousands and thousands of different possibilities that something could screw something up just a little bit.
It's the downside of technology. It's no different. Like we always wonder why our phones get updates would seem like every month, or a computer or whatever. But same thing with marine devices. I mean, I look at products like PowerPole Charge, for example. When it first came out, it had a lot of problems, and it has taken every bit of a year and a half for them to finally refine it to a good product. No different than like the first PowerPole remotes were not great, and then they've evolved them from there. Same thing with you look at different iterations of head units, like Humminbird has like version 5 now on Helixes, but it's, they're generally trying to make it better, but then sometimes there's bad software patches that cause other issues, unfortunately.
Is it true on the Humminbirds that, let's say you have one that hasn't been updated forever, and like you said, they're on 5 now, right?
Yeah, I think so.
You have to go back. I got told you had to go back to like put 2 in to put 3 in. Is that still true? Yeah.
Humminbirds are tough depending what generation they are. If you're too far back on a software update, you have to do like a middle update to do the newest update. And then if you have a network of Humminbird units, say you have 3 units and all 3 of them are different softwares, they won't talk to each other. They all have to be on the same software. So they can be frustrating sometimes.
Yeah, I bet that. Do you do trolling motor service too?
Yeah, we're a Lowrance Ghost Service Center. We're close to being Minn Kota. I've got like 10 hours left of training. So that's my own doing that I'm not done yet. Right. But we're about to be a Minn Kota service center, and we're almost done being a Garmin service center for 4. So we're about to be a service center for all 3 companies.
That's awesome. Excellent.
Yep.
And I know y'all made an announcement that you're doing cleaning and stuff, detailing and stuff like that. So the next question right there, if you'll pull up from Matthew Smith, is what's the per foot pricing for the new cleaning and ceramic coating?
Yeah, so you're going to see a lot of services we're adding to our business. Another thing we're about to announce, and we're really refined on it now, is full recarpet jobs on boats too. So we're going to try to turn in this one-stop shop, electronics and boat service as a whole, or boat upfit as a whole.
Right.
So as far as the pricing on ceramic, I'll give you the base. If you want really detailed, you can call me because there's a lot of packages. But number one, the guy that we're having detail the boats, I've used him for 3 years on my personal vehicles. He is a guru when it comes to details. Like when he cleans cars, he gets a Q-tip to clean your air vents out. So he and I for a year have been testing different products on boats, specifically my boat's been a guinea pig to get a refined process. So number one, the first detailing like price point is essentially a boat detail, which is he's going to clean it. He's going to wash it. That means trailer, tires, wheels, boat, carpet, inside boxes, all that, like full boat detail from a cleaning perspective with a spray wax is $25 a foot. That's just for clean. If you want a full blown, what I would consider paint correction and ceramic coat, which is essentially he's going to go through the boat. He's going to wet sand the whole boat. He's going to compound the boat. He's going to polish the boat, like the fiberglass, your fenders, your power poles, your motor cowling, like make everything not have a single swirl and look better than it came from the factory. That's called paint correction. Mm-hmm. Then put a ceramic coat on, or then the boat gets detailed and a ceramic coat on top of that. That is a package price of $2,500 for a 5-year ceramic. And for those who don't know what a ceramic coat is, it's essentially a permanent wax that's applied that will last 5 years. So bugs, any sort of adhesive will not stick to it. So it's really cool because if you get bug splatter on your cowling, you can get a microfiber towel and wipe it, and there's no scrubbing, like it just comes off. And then we have another package where essentially we can detail the boat, but only ceramic coat the motor and power poles if you don't want bugs to stick. And that's like $400 to do that pretty much. That's awesome. So we got different intermittent packages from there, but pretty much the 2 big ones I tell everyone is the far end of the spectrum, which is a full blown. My guy works on the boat it takes almost 8 hours to do a paint correction in ceramic on a boat. And then the other end of the spectrum is just a detail clean type deal.
Will that be built into your website?
Yeah, we'll have it built on the website here. We got a new website launching in like 3 weeks. But on the website, it'll have like a section where if you want to request a detail, you can do all that.
That's
We pretty
awesome.
much the details. We need 1 business day notice. I can have them.
Yeah.
We can get you in and get you scheduled in 1 business day.
I think that's great how you guys are expanding.
Yep.
I think it's
And we
great.
can do it remotely too. So you can be, if your boat's at the shop and get detailed, or I can send them to your house.
Love it. Love
Yep.
it right there. All right. So Ken Pruitt wants to know what is on your personal boat and why. And I assume we're going to be talking
What is
Sonar.
on Trent's personal boat? Yeah. So Sonar wise, I run all 3 brands. That's not a common setup. Obviously, it's the benefit of owning a Sonar business.
Yeah,
I
right.
can put
Yeah.
whatever I want on my boat.
Right.
But there's a benefit to all 3 brands. I rig my boat every year kind of based on the schedule that I'm going to be fishing. But the past 3 years, I've pretty much been the same. I've got Lowrance and Humminbird at the console. I use my Lowrance primarily for waypoint management and sonar. And then the Humminbird is strictly used for mapping. That's all it's used for. And then up front, I've got all 3. I've got Garmin for Livescope. I've got Lowrance for my mapping unit. And then I've got a Humminbird Apex 13 for 360/mapping at the front.
I got a question on the 360, and I'll get the.
Yep.
I'll get you, Big Al. Through the grapevine, you know, you hear rumors, and with all the leagues changing stuff. I had a guy come in and tell me that somebody or a group of people have figured out how to take a 360, tweak either a chip in there or something, and turn it into a Mega Live kind of thing. Have you heard anything about that?
Not tweaking a current 360, because a current 360 is physically a side scan transducer that is literally on a motor that spins. It does not have any capability to go live.
Okay.
I do know that there's 2 brands that are coming out with a live 360. I've seen one of them.
Okay, so it is coming.
Yeah,
it is coming. All right. Big Al, Terry Hatcher. That's his woman of the 80s. Terry Hatcher. Do you remember her?
I do.
What do you think, Kevin? Terry Hatcher, scale 1 to 10. And what was she in? Anybody know? Terry Hatcher.
No.
I don't know. Terry Hatcher. Tony, you know Terry Hatcher?
I know the name, but I don't.
I know the name. So Big Al.
Was she in with Selleck or something? One of the shows he used to have.
That was before my time, man.
Tom Selleck?
No, I just don't know. I know the name. She's blonde, I think. So
Yes.
I do remember.
I'd give her
that.
a 9.
A 9? All right. So on Kevin's scale, a 9. That's
Back
good
then,
stuff.
I haven't seen her today, though. So,
We're going to go with her back then.
okay.
Yeah, we all age a little bit right there. Let's see. Jason Jones. Folks yell about the FQ from Trans. I hope I'm reading this right. Frequency from Trans running off fish. Okay. Is there known research and development or technology that is up and coming that explores different frequency ranges that may be less obtrusive to fish populations? Good Lord. With a dip in, that was a tough question. So, is there something like that? Are they trying? I mean,
so I think there's a misconception that
okay.
that a transducer beam is essentially there's a misconception that it's like a laser beam that's perfectly going through the water column.
Right.
And then that hits a fish, and then some people will say their lateral lines feel it, and then they move off. For the most part, from the research I've talked to with a biologist and knowing how these transducers work, I don't think that's necessarily the case.
Okay.
Reason being is how Livescope specifically works is actually that transducer is emitting a sound in the water column, right? And that sound technically goes 360 degrees. What the transducer have, which everyone refers to as the beam, is it only receives in a narrow area. So it emits a sound of 360-degree frequency beam, and then it's only pulling in this small cone that it can read from.
Right.
It's not emitting out, it's pulling in, technically is what it's doing.
Okay.
So what I think more so happens is fish are if you think of like putting something in the bathtub, right? When, like, say you got something like put a kayak in a bathtub. When you put it in there, the water's going to raise up and it's going to put a disturbance in the water. There is a certain distance that I think fish can sense that physically something around them.
Right.
And the reason I say that I don't think frequency is as impactful, and again, I think I'll use Lake Lanier as an example. I have seen a wakeboard boat run over a brush pile while shooting it with Livescope, and those fish don't care. They just sit there.
Yeah.
If they're not bothered by that, they're not worried about a frequency that's pinging in the water, in my opinion. It's more so the disturbance, and they can feel things in the water column is when that boat gets a certain distance to them. That's when they feel it. Now, don't get me wrong. If you've ever jumped in your boat, if you jumped in the water next to your boat and you have multiple transducers, they are audibly loud. that's a factor too. I think there's an audible aspect they probably sense too. But
Right.
as far as the type of frequency and the range it's operating in and the direction it's emitting, I don't think fish react to that as much. It's more so the sound of your boat, like bilge pumps are loud, those transducers clicking are loud, and then the physical aspect of that boat displacing water in the water column.
I did not know until he just said it that it's reading what it's pulling.
I didn't either.
Yeah. It's essentially what it's doing.
And I don't think many people realize
No.
that. That's the first time I've ever heard anybody say
Yep.
that.
You don't think the fish get acclimated to that pinging sound as long as we've had it now?
I think they get used to it for sure. But I think they know when you're a certain, especially also, you know, if the bluebird sky sun's high and you're over the top of the brush pile, your boat's also casting a shadow.
Yes.
Paying attention to which direction the sun is to, like, I'll pull up on brush piles in a certain orientation based on the sun.
Makes
Because
sense.
if it's to my back, it's going to emit my shadow forward, which is going to project forward to the boat.
That makes sense. I think, you know, a lot of people try to learn all these details, but there's always something else to learn. I mean, that's
100%.
two great things right there.
Yeah.
Eric wants to know, is there a year model that it has to be to get a full detail?
No, not at all. And it's I forgot to say this earlier, or I did say it, I think, but it's a per foot charge for the detail. Older boats, if you have oxidation, that paint correction process 100% will bring some shine back to the boat.
Yeah.
Depends on how far along the oxidation
Yeah, for
is,
sure.
but we can definitely do some recovery methods too.
You ever heard of mayonnaise being used for that?
I have.
I tried that.
Mayonnaise is essentially, there's a grit in mayonnaise. It's just like using compound. Compound has a grit in it that's going to essentially dole up the surface, and then you hit it with polish to polish
He
it out.
waxed his.
Oh, I did. I had a
Yeah.
used car salesman say, I had a tournament and had old Procraft, and it looked like crap. He goes, put some mayonnaise on it. It will look good for that one tournament.
Yeah.
And so I rubbed the hell out of that thing with mayonnaise. I got in the water, and I had a damn oil slick behind me because I didn't do it well enough. It was pretty nasty right there.
Chum in the water with
I was chumming.
mayonnaise.
I was chumming. It was so, it did have a slick. I thought my damn motor was
That's
leaking or something.
funny.
Cameraman Cletus and Farmer have just joined us, and they were jacking something somewhere. Sorry, we were on the water jacking them. Big Al says she was a brunette. Terry Hatcher was, but you might as well go ahead and pull the picture up there.
I'll do it.
Pull the picture up right there. She wasn't Superman,
Was she?
but I don't remember that. So anyway, let's do that. Go ahead and scroll down and see what we got. Any more questions right there? Oh, Magnum PI. Seinfeld. Oh, she's the boob girl on Seinfeld. We just watched that episode. Lorraine's in the sauna with her and she falls. Absolutely. All right.
I take it back. I'll give her a 10.
10. Yeah, they're real and they're fabulous. So I remember that right there. So, all right, there you go, Big Al. Appreciate that. I'm looking forward to my package in 3 weeks, whatever that might be. So you should see if you can mayonnaise up that Skeeter like that. It's RXTX. That's why I don't get the argument. I have no idea what that means. So, Jason Jones, I'm kind of limited on that. With the, let me ask you this. With all the, I know Bass didn't make a huge change, but have you had any of the boats come back in, of any of the elites, or are they coming back in and you're going to have to do some adjustments on those?
Most of those guys are turning their boats. So
Yes.
we're making plans for their next year.
That's
I
right.
mean, what the decision that Bass came out with, I actually really like, because it essentially stopped the arms race from happening.
Yes.
You know, what's interesting is like the boats with 6-7 graphs and 10 transducers. I mean, that's an exaggeration, but those were the 1% of the 1% of boats we rigged. But I did have situations where young guys getting into boats were wanting to put as much as possible because that's what they thought they needed.
Mm-hmm.
So what I like about the rule Bass came out with is it set a ceiling and said, you can have whatever you want to this point.
Yeah.
And I like that it stopped the arms race and it kind of makes things unison. Now, still guys that catch fish are still going to catch fish regardless of what technology's on their boat. So I definitely like what Bass did. But yeah, so it's interesting because the sizing, the 55 inches really caters to one brand on the Bass side, which is a large sponsor there. So it makes sense that they didn't have an even number. They have an odd number.
Right.
But the 55 inches is interesting because it's had us have guys think about, well, I want this graph to be the biggest. Well, since this one's mapping, I'm going to go from what I used to have a 12 down to a 9 and stuff like that. So but you're going to see some guys running a 19-inch Garmin next year.
So they can still have that?
They can have up to 55
Up to
inches. So if you do
55.
the math, I'm not good at math off the top of my head, but it's like you can do a 19 and then 312s. Yeah, 19 and 312s.
So, I mean, yeah.
55
like
inches.
it's
That
just
math
keep
right?
It,
Yeah.
It sounds
Yeah.
right. Listen, it sounds right to me. But it does keep it from going crazy.
But you should look
They
up.
still got
You need to
footage.
look up MSRP on the 19-inch Garmin.
What is it?
10.
10 grand.
Yeah. It's a 4K saltwater screen that does not have a mounting gimbal. So David and I at Boat Logics or I should say David, I just gave him the idea.
Yeah.
We're making a custom cradle for this thing to sit in because it also weighs 18 pounds.
Good Lord.
But it's got a 4K screen on it.
So like
It's super cool.
I'm looking for my kayak
see
and
the
Sonar
scales.
Do
Pros.
what?
Be able to see scales.
Yeah.
So Sonar Pros should be a sponsor of my kayak adventures and put one of those on the front.
It would
And
balance,
pay
It
for
would-
it
it would
too.
it
sink.
would balance your weight.
It would, yeah, because my ass is on the back. You got to keep the front of that thing down to go, baby.
I have a question for him.
Yeah.
Because you spoke about bass on MLF. If you were fishing that,
Bass Pro Tour or Invitationals?
the Bass Pro Tour,
Go for it. Yeah.
what would you want period wise to use your electronics? First, second, or third?
Gosh. Depends on the body of water, I guess.
Let's say Lanier.
Third.
You want it right there at the end.
Yeah. Morning sucks on Linear.
Yeah, it does. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Let's say
they need the sun. They want that sun.
let's say Gunnersville
Gunnersville, time of year.
right now,
Same thing, afternoon.
afternoon.
Yeah, because I'd frogfish grass in the morning.
Yeah. Okay. I guess I do see what it's.
Yeah.
It is interesting, and that is going.
Yeah, but it depends on body of water and
See,
whatnot.
because first period you could be looking for the brush piles to fish the second to third.
Yeah.
You could. There's going to be.
Yeah,
a
I
lot
think
of
that's an
strategy.
interesting.
Any type of
What
breaks.
Bass Pro Tour did, I think, is interesting. I just, again, the downside to our sport is viewership, right? And like a non-fisherman watching that is going to be like, what the hell is this power hour they're doing or whatever they're calling it.
Right. Yeah.
So I think from a sellability standpoint, it's hard. I mean, again, I'm interested to see how everything shakes out this year because I think, guys against it, guys for it. This is next year's the year to see what actually happens.
Absolutely. Yeah. You're going to
But
find that a lot.
yeah, I think that one's interesting because it does. I like the strategy element to it, right? Because it's kind of like that makes their format a little bit. Not that it wasn't before, but that adds like more of a chess element to it. Like, all right, I know these fish are suspending out here, and I can only target them. Is it one period or is it a
One.
set? It's one period they can use it.
Yes.
So you could figure out, okay, those suspended fish in practice bite better. To our point earlier, 12 to 1 or AM one.
Yeah.
So you could play the strategy game of, all right, I'll use it this period because that's when they're more active. And then the other periods, I need to have a strategy to target either fish that I can fish offshore without forward sonar or fish that are on the bank.
Yeah.
So I think that element's pretty cool.
It's going to
about
be
it.
very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So Derek O wants to know if some of the beams in my scope are more dim than others. Is that normal or is it a defect or a setting issue?
Not a setting issue because you got a total of 3 beams that come off a Livescope, whether you have an LVS 32 or a 34. If it's really obvious that 2 of them are dimmer, that's probably an early sign that the crystals in that transducer are starting to go bad. That is a strong indication that transducer has gotten overheated at some point in time. Whether you were out idling for a long period of time with a transducer running, or it's just got a lot of run time on it. Transducers do degrade over time with use. So.
Okay.
That is probably an early sign that you're having a crystal failure is more than likely what I would say. If it's blatantly obvious that a beam is dimmer than the other ones.
What's the best way to take care of a transducer between trips?
If you're going to go out and idle all day, like scanning for brush piles or finding whatever, and you're not using your scope, just turn it off or go in and hit stop sonar.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people accidentally, on your Livescope screen on the bottom left-hand corner is a pause button. If you hit pause, that's pausing your screen, not pausing your transducer.
Right.
So you need to go to your menu page, and then right there you'll see stop sonar, hit stop sonar. So if you're going to go idle for a long period of time, make sure you stop your sonar or turn it off.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing if you're making a long run. Like when I mean long run, I'm talking like 30 minutes, an hour, hour and a half. Same thing. Go up there and stop your sonar. Keeping that transducer where it won't heat up out of the water is the biggest thing you can do to extend the life of that transducer. But naturally just using it in the water, if after 5-10 years, if you're putting 200-300 hours on the boat a year, it's going to degrade over time.
Yeah,
There's nothing you can do about it.
On a 360.
Yep.
Do you use it a lot? Just out of curiosity, or have you used it a lot or played with it?
It's pretty much useless down here in the Southeast.
Yeah.
Well, I take that back. Lakes like Lanier that are very, what I call topo heavy, a lot of deep points and ravines.
Yeah.
360 does not perform well in very contoured water. If you're in flat water, even if it's deeper, like a nice big flat, it works great. Like I love it for smallmouth fishing, getting on big sand flats, looking for rock veins or boulders. It's fantastic for that. Tennessee River, getting up and on shell bars and eelgrass beds. It's fantastic at that. And down in Florida, same thing. If you get in hydrilla beds, it's awesome for that. Lanier, I don't even turn it on.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yep.
What speed do you put it on to try to see fish and them moving?
You can't do that. 360, it's hard to do that
Yeah,
because the more you speed it up, you're going to essentially stretch that picture more, and you're going to
Gotcha.
rotate it too fast. 360 is more of a structure tool than it is a fish tool. Now, I will say I had a tournament, I had a Toyota Series on Gunnersville that I was in third after day one. We don't need to talk about day two.
Okay.
But I had found I had found a hole in hydrilla that I, number one, found the hole because of 360, and then the fish were so tight to the bottom that I could see their shadows on the 360, even which direction they were facing, because I could make out their tails with them sitting in there. And in that scenario, I was running my 360 on like speed setting 3, which is pretty slow rotation, but it draws a really good picture in slow rotation.
Yeah.
So if the fish are glued to the bottom, you'll see them on your 360, just like side scan. If your fish are glued to the bottom, you'll see their shadows. If they suspend, you're not going to see them.
Okay. That's fair enough.
Yep.
Right there. So, Jake Maddox says, "Damn live scoper."
The dang scoper.
Oh, Jake. Right
Those
there.
dang scopers.
A lot of them use their scope though for finding brush and so forth.
100%. Yep.
Not so much for the fish.
Fish. Yeah, it depends. I mean, the early, like when I first got forward sonar, it was original Panoptix PS32 in 2016. It's the first one I had. And it was a great tool for just lining up on brush. First Livescope, same thing. I mean, it was good for seeing some fish, but I like Livescope more for lining up on targets. Don't get me wrong. Like if you want to go hunt suspended fish, that's what it's good for.
Yeah.
Also.
Oh, yeah.
But I like it more so personally for, all right, there's my brush pile. It's 80, 100 feet out. Fish are sitting 5 feet above the pile. I'm going to make this bait selection to throw at them.
Yeah, I get that. All right, guys. Hey, listen, in about 15 minutes, we're going to do the question of the night or the week, however we say it. We're going to give away this Fish North Georgia, our new logo patch hat. We got a special edition of that tonight. You guys are definitely going to want to stay tuned for that. Kevin's not looking forward to it. I don't know, but it's going to be a lot of fun. So, hey, if you want a chance to win that hat and have some good fun,
for who?
It's going to be fun for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's going to be different.
Clear that up.
It's going to be different than the way we do it.
Paybacks are hell. Just remember.
Yes, Dad. Yes, Dad. I know
Because
that.
your window's down on your truck.
Arthur, my window's down on my truck. I don't trust you at all right there. Jason Jones, across the general name brands, do you feel that the Sonar transmit / receivability mapping or UI portion of the console matters the most? These are great questions.
I'm kind of understanding the question. So like,
I just act like I did.
Yeah, for me, like units at the console, waypoint management is probably one of them. If you're a tournament angler, waypoint management is probably the most important thing you can have. I'd even say it's second to good mapping, or even with it. So for me, like I think Lowrance pretty much covers the best when it comes to waypoint management. Their flexibility with mapping, because you got CMAP, you've got Navionics, and then you've got really sneaky stuff like making your own Google imaging maps for Lowrance's. That's why I like Lowrance probably the most. And then their ability to integrate and network and all that good stuff. Side scan, down scan with them is fantastic. I'd say probably a good second from there is Garmin. And then third would be Humminbird. Hummingbird's probably got the best mapping, but their waypoint management is not great. Their networking is not that great either.
Okay. But
yeah, that's kind of my ranking. I guess I kind of skipped around that question a little bit, but I would say very important, 100% as far as user interface and mapping and your ability to waypoint management and all that good stuff is really important at the console.
Okay. All right. Well, there you go right there. So Philip Hunt, he is with the Armed Forces Fishing League right there. And also again, I said it earlier, they're a Bassmaster team trail. How they do it and go to the Nationals, there's a whole hierarchy, but they can qualify for the Bassmaster Classic right there. So appreciate him joining us. So is it better to turn the Livescope off or put it in sleep mode during runs?
Kind of like what I said earlier, if you're making a long run, like anything over 30 minutes, definitely stop your transducer or turn it off altogether. If you're just making a quick 10, 15-minute run, it's not that big a deal. But especially in the summertime, if you're making a long run, make sure that transducer is either stopped or off.
Okay. All right.
I got a question too.
Go ahead.
Help me understand why 2D loses speed at about 50, 55 miles an hour.
That's about the limitation of that frequency it operates
Is there
at.
anything that they have other than shoot through the hole?
There's really nice transducers made by Airmar. If you want to get crazy with 2D, like a TM150, that will probably pick up a lot better at speed. The downside is that's like a $600 2D transducer. But for a standard 200 kilohertz, just shoot through hole transducer, about 50, 55 is where it's going to start, especially on linear. If you're running like the main channel at 100 foot, it's going to lose bottom read no matter what.
I got you. Derek O, does networking the graph that you use for scope have any negative effect versus isolating it?
Absolutely none whatsoever.
Absolutely none whatsoever. And then cameraman Cletus said, I heard Trent was giving away a Garmin 1643 for the question of the week. Buddy, listen, if he's giving away one to anybody, I'm getting it. He's going to sponsor me before he does that right there. So
yeah, he picked an expensive graph.
Yeah. Hey, listen. Hey, we do things right here, man. I like that. So, Alan Brooks, Mr. TAA right there. Appreciate you joining us tonight. Trent, what's up, man? If you wanted to scan way under the boat / backwards towards the motor with, I guess, second generation FFS transducer, would you mount the second transducer backwards or use down image on the second transducer?
Way under the boat backwards towards the motor. I'll give away a little bit of a secret for smallmouth fishing. So guys up north are running 2 Livescope transducers, which is not uncommon these days, but they're running one shooting. If the troll motor's pointed north to south, one transducer is shooting north and one transducer is shooting south. So to answer your question, you 100% could run a second transducer shooting off the shaft. You are going to get a little bit of interference. The second thing you could do is, and I've done it before, another trick is obviously use a jack plate mounted transducer, live transducer, but we can point it north to south where it kind of shoots down and back off the back of the boat instead of left to right. So that's another trick too. So there's kind of 2 ways. There's a couple ways to skin the cat on that scenario.
All right, well, there you go. Hey, Alan, seriously appreciate you joining us. Look forward to talking to you soon. Gone fishing. What batteries do you recommend for one Garmin 126 SV with Livescope at the bow and a graph for mapping at the console?
So a setup like that is pretty low demand from an amperage perspective. As long as it's got good wiring, I would say a Group 31 AGM, it would get you by just fine. There's no need to, at that point in time with that setup, to look into going with any sort of lithium or anything of that sort. When you start getting to the 3, 4, and 5 graph setups, that's where I'm going to recommend a standalone electronics battery just for the electronics. But a setup like that, 100% get yourself a good 31 AGM is what I would recommend.
Okay, there you go. So appreciate you joining us tonight. Brad Silvers. I love it. They make my job easy when the questions just keep
rolling.
I can't pronounce half of it, but it's great. What have you found is the best frequency for best imaging results on down imaging and side imaging in deep clear water? What frequency is the best?
It depends what electronics brand you're running and transducer, but generally speaking, if you can be around deep water, if you're trying to get the most concentration of essentially your transducer to get the best picture in deep water and extend your range, if you can be around that 455 kilohertz range, that's going to be good. If you're running Humminbird, you can take it off Mega, put it in 455. If you're running Lowrance, generally those transducers do 455 or 800. So 455 is generally your friend in deep. We're talking deep water. I'm talking like 50, 60 foot plus, right?
Okay.
You'll see a lot of people focused in on what's considered mega frequency, or like Lowrance's new HD transducer that's called chirp frequency. That is great for shallow water definition. Deep water, any sort of mega frequency is going to start dissipating. So if you can go with what I call a flat 455, that's your best for deep water by far.
Perfect. I love that. So cameraman Cletus says Sonar Pros and FNGO are premium brands, nothing but the best. And listen, the Sonar Pro would look really good on my FNGO boat, right? one of them free Garmin's right there.
He's sucking up to us because we're recarpeting his boat right now.
Yeah, no, he told me about that.
Yeah.
He told me about that the other night.
Huh?
So you got a Triton?
No, he's got a Skeeter.
They were doing a Triton when I was there.
The red one?
Yeah,
that's my project boat actually.
That's there we go.
Yeah.
So he's trying.
But yeah, that one we're picking away at that one.
He's trying to do that. So all right, let's go ahead. Since you guys think of some more questions, But we're going to go ahead and do the question of the night. Okay, so here's what you're going to do.
Right.
Yeah, here we go. So you're going to get this hat. This is our new logo, leather patch hat, and we will send it to you. Now, the way we're going to do this tonight, we're going to call this Senior Citizen Reads Pop Music. Okay, something like that. So I'm going to give Kevin the lyrics to a song, and I told him to try to read it with a beat, do whatever he can. Now,
a white man beat.
A white man beat. Well, I'll say this: a white lady sung the song. So, but she's got some beat.
That really helps me a lot.
All right, it's gonna help you a lot. So he doesn't even know what the song is yet. I'm gonna hand him the lyrics. Now I'm gonna give you the question before. So what you got to do is listen to the lyrics, figure out who sung the song, use that information to answer the question. And I made the question a little hard because I want his butt to read these lyrics for a hot minute. Okay. So
what year did the song come out? Can you say that?
Is she Spanish, Hispanic?
No, there's no Hispanic there. There's no hombre or none of that stuff like that. Or not. You may know the song, you may not. You just go ahead and look at it right there. Go ahead and get prepped up. Here's the question, guys. All right, listen, here's the question. The singer of this song owns a share of a professional sports team. What is the scientific name of the mascot of this sports team? Okay, now you got to figure out who's singing.
Who comes up with these questions?
I did this one. He's normally
you're using like AI or something, right? Chat GPT. No.
Well, we started off with AI and then tried to went down a little bit because I can't even pronounce the answer. All right, but the answer, remember, the scientific name. Do you know the song?
No, but you're gonna have to get somebody to take you home tonight. That truck ain't gonna run.
All right, but listen, and you got to read it loud, okay? All right, so once again,
I can hardly read it.
You old man. All right, so once again, here we go. Here's the question. The singer of this song owns a share of a professional sports team. What is the scientific name of the mascot? Figure out the singer. You can answer the question. The first one that puts the answer in the comment section, the scientific name of the mascot, I'm going to send an FMG hat to. So are you ready?
Hell
Kevin?
no, I ain't ready.
Yeah, go ahead. Get it, baby. Just do this.
All right, here we go. Trace 2, oh no. Listen up, y'all, because this is it. The best that I'm banging is delicious. Fergalicious definition make them boys go loco. I want my treasure. So they get their pleasures from my photo. You can see me, you can't squeeze me. I ain't easy, I ain't sleazy. I got reasons why I tease them. Boys just come and go like seasons. Fergalicious, so delicious.
Keep going.
But I ain't promiscuous.
Oh my God.
And if you was suspicious, all that shit is fictitious. I blow kisses. Mwah. Am I doing it right?
Yeah, you're great, baby. Go.
You're doing great. Doing great. I got tears.
Vapor lock. Vapor lock.
Great. Keep going.
I'm trying to see it.
This needs to be a weekly thing.
Wait a minute. Okay.
You lost your place, didn't you?
No, I got my place. I'm
blow
trying to clear
kisses.
my eyes up so I can see. That puts them boys on rock. And they be lining down the block just to watch what I got. 4 trace 2 uno. So delicious. It's hot. So delicious. I put them boys on rock. So delicious. They want to taste what I got. I'm Fergalicious. Tasty. Fergalicious definition
Oh
make
my
them
God.
boys go crazy. They always claim because they know me, coming to me, so they call me Stacy. Hey, Stacy, I'm the F to the E to the R G, then I the E, and can't no other lady put it down like me. I'm Fergalicious, so delicious. My body stays vicious. I'm telling you, I can hardly see.
How think you doing?
Oh man, I'll be up in the gym just working on my fitness. He's my witness. I put you boys on rock, and he be lining down the block just to see what I got.
Okay. All right.
It should be Cuatro Trace 2 Uno.
Yeah, they do it backwards.
Yeah.
Okay, listen. All right, so we got a problem.
What's that? Nobody's got the answer yet.
Okay, nobody's got the answer according to our Google thing. So
I'm not reading this damn thing again.
So there's a lot of people are putting the same answers up there.
Yeah.
But it's not the answer that we got via Google. So
Well, my answers were always right.
no, hell no.
Yeah, they were.
You made that shit up half the time.
Well, then they were right.
We're right. All right. So listen. So what do you got? So look. So see what they're putting.
What's that? Do you have it on there?
Well, no, nobody's put the right answer yet, according to what we got.
Yeah, Jason, I need a beatbox.
So I was gonna make him do Afro Man until I got high, but we thought that might be a little much to start this. All right, repeat the question, Danny. The singer of this song owns a share of a professional sports team. What is the scientific name of the mascot? Now I'll tell you what we did. We put what is the scientific name of the mascot? And I'm going to tell you, it is a dolphin. It's the Miami Dolphins. You guys have got that right. But the answer that we got starts with the letter O.
Now you're giving clues.
I got to.
You're so weak.
I'm not. Sing.
You read the damn thing.
Huh?
We got it. Alex Purrs.
Alex Purrs got it. But you know what? Alex can't win. He's part of the Fish North Georgia group, podcast group now. So the next person to type in Alex's answer wins. The next person. He can't do that. I didn't tell him that, but now you can't win no more, Alex. People that are employed. There we go. Philip Hunt. There we go. So, and listen, only because you were now. What is that little thing? You did good.
That was great.
That's hard to read.
But
you could have wrote it bigger.
I tried to get the print bigger, but that was funny as shit. But you did well.
Well, paybacks are hell. Just
wait. You got to do it again next Thursday.
Oh yeah.
All right. So there we go. Not the spec name. I said the scientific. That's the answer. I put, what is the scientific name of the mascot? And it's ODON.
Well, say it, Danny.
Odontocracy. Does that sound right?
About like senior.
Senior, yeah. So start making the questions simple like they were for years and stop these way too complicated questions. Listen, Dane, we can't. I had to make it hard enough. So I got guys saying delphinids and shit. I don't know. We're just going to give it to Philip. I appreciate all that. And next time I'll get a scientist or something to actually go over. But when we Googled it on Bing, it was on Bing. It said ODONTOCETI. So.
And we couldn't even pronounce it for a while.
No, we couldn't. I still don't know that we're pronouncing it right. So anyway, all right. So all you guys, that was fun. I enjoyed. Do you think that was good?
Yeah, it was hilarious.
Yeah.
You need to do some Lil Wayne next.
Lil Wayne?
Yeah.
Oh no. Find somebody else.
Listen, he almost was going to do Tupac. So anyway, but hey guys, if you actually had the right answer and it just wasn't what we had, I love you. Try again next week. We do the best we can with what we got to work with. So, but listen, hats off to you, old man, for doing that. That was absolutely great and fantastic.
That was fun.
You put the boys on rock. Do you know what that means?
No.
I didn't think you did.
I don't.
Huh?
I don't.
You know what you take that pill for?
Okay.
What does that do to you?
I don't take that pill.
Well, if you had to, there, Superman. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Blue shooter.
Yep.
Huh? So there we go. All right, let's go. Let's get back to the serious stuff. But that was great. We're going to start making that a daily Thursday night thing. So let's scroll on down and see if we got any more questions before people get mad that we had the wrong answer. So anyway.
I think up top, if you go back up, there was one about bus bars.
Bus
we
bars.
Hadn't got to.
Keep
going
on,
up. Right before
depends on where the dolphin depicted is extracted. That's probably true. It was extracted from Bing. So, all right.
Derrico.
Right there.
That one.
Okay, let's pull up. Derrico, do you use bus bars or fuse boxes, or is everything direct with inline fuses? You did great. You did great, baby.
When it comes to wiring your graphs, I strongly discourage bus bars and any sort of like fuse distribution system, just mainly because a lot of times those accessory panels will get built up with a lot of and they're generally notorious for having a pretty bad amperage draw, which will alter your voltage to your units. I like to do what's called a home run system. Our Sonar Pros wiring harness is a home run system where every device gets its own power and ground direct with its own inline fuse. There's no bus bar. There's no Blue C panel. It's all direct wire. So when it comes to graphs and your sonar modules, 100% recommend direct wire. When it comes to accessories like LED lights, radios, any sort of random accessory on the boat, bilge pumps, bus bars, and any sort of Blue C distribution panel, those things are fantastic for those items. But when it comes to graphs, I do not recommend them.
I got you. Do you ever just do a class?
Thought about it.
You should.
Yeah.
I did that for the first time yesterday. I spoke at a club yesterday for the first time.
I've done something like a class where we've done trainings for dealers that I've done.
Yeah.
But I think at our new place, when in our big shop bay, I'm actually setting up. The guys are painting it next week when I'm gone. we're setting up one wall with a projector because we're going to do seminars and stuff in there.
That's great.
So we'll probably start doing some classes on stuff too.
I was hoping to see Greg or John from, I hope I say this right. So Leo, I guess I was a guest speaker yesterday. So some of them guys said they were going to join us tonight. I was hoping they would say their name. So if you guys are shy, first of all, thank you for letting me speak to you guys yesterday, but go ahead in the questions, throw some questions out. So, but I think it's So Leo over there in Canton, Georgia. I had a good time with you guys yesterday. When you wire up a system, is there a specific marine wire brand that you use and why?
I guess first I'll plug my product, which is use the Sonar Pros wiring harness.
Uh-huh.
As far as a brand of wire, there's a ton of them out there now. Generally speaking, you're going to want to make sure there's two things when it comes to wire. One, it's marine tinned. Number one problem I see people do when they wire their own boats or do any DIY approach is they use traditional copper wire, whether they're just going and getting it from Home Depot, going on Amazon, buying regular speaker wire. You got to make sure you have marine tinned wire. If you don't, then you're going to get corrosion buildup over time. The second thing is when it comes to marine brand wire, I like what's called a duplex wire, which is essentially a power and ground molded together in a nice plastic sheathing. If you just search duplex wire on Amazon or Google, you'll find probably like 30 different brands that carry them. As far as what we use, I can't say that because of the contract I have with the company we buy wire from, but the wire we use in our harness is literally from a percentage of the density of wire they put in a conduit. It is the best you can buy in the entire world, period, is what we use. So, but yeah, generally speaking, you want to make sure if you're going to go DIY route, 100% make sure you have marine tinned wire to start.
Is that a 10 gauge or 8 gauge?
On our harness?
Yeah.
So the way we do it is since everything is getting its own power and ground, we do not have to do 8 gauge. So everything gets its own 10 gauge compared to guys that are doing 8 gauge with all their devices shared on an 8 gauge. Our harness is 30% more efficient than if you had 4 graphs on an 8 gauge compared to us doing 10 gauge to everything individual. So,
okay. There you go. I love it. Love this. All right. So we got those two. Let's scroll on down and see if we got any new questions because we had to go back for those. I noticed you said corrosion.
Yep.
Is there really that much corrosion in freshwater?
100%.
Really? Because I don't think people think about that.
100%. The biggest issue in bass boats is there is not, I don't care what brand it is.
You saw that, didn't you?
I don't.
I'm sorry. Listen, hot baby.
Yeah.
Hot baby.
That's my baby.
The number one problem in bass boats by far is humidity.
Yeah.
There is not a bass boat out there that is 100% waterproof. Carpet is notorious for holding water. When it gets hot, builds up humidity. So the biggest threat in a boat, bass boat and freshwater for corrosion is just moisture buildup due to humidity in the boxes.
Gotcha.
So things like waterproof connections, waterproof fuse assemblies is just as important as it is in salt. Salt, it's worse. I mean, obviously,
right.
But 100% in freshwater, it's just as much of a problem.
Do you ever mess with any of these new oxygen kind of tanks? Underwood's got one. You know, these new, I don't even know what it's called. What is
fish lungs?
Fish lungs. Do y'all ever mess with any of that?
I've installed some of them for like 10 years. I've just ran an oxygen bottle in my boat.
Yeah.
It's kind of like having a little bomb, so that makes things exciting.
Yeah.
But it 100% like
It's on the passenger side.
Yeah, those O2 bottles will bring fish. I every tournament I carry 3 with me.
Yeah.
For every day of the tournament, it will 1000% like borderline bring fish back from the dead.
Oh yeah.
You know, I don't really push them as far as like my business installing them because
it's not. I just want to.
There's a threat aspect to it, but if you can be safe with them. We've done some of the fish lungs. I think the price points, not bashing the product, they've lowered their price a bunch from when they first came out.
Yeah.
The price point's pretty high for what it is, and it's not an easy install. I mean, it's a pretty big and intrusive thing to install.
Yeah.
So I think I love the thought process of someone finally investing time and engineering into how we can better oxygenate these live wells, because just little intake ports that are on boats that get into the pumps, they don't do anything.
Right.
So I think hopefully we'll see more iterations of that. I mean, there's bass boat brands now that are coming out with systems in the boats to help oxygenate them too.
Speaking of, because I know you like to fish deep, or you're out there offshore and all
Yep.
that. If you're given the choice, what is best, and you don't have your oxygen, fizzing or fin clips?
If you know how to fizz, it's ultimately the best.
Okay.
The best by far. I do both. I fin clip and fizz. It just depends on the species of fish, how deep I caught it, and how I caught it.
Mm-hmm.
If I say I'm catching a fish deep and I have it on heavy line and I got it to the boat really fast, I'm probably not going to fizz them right off the rip, because that fish is going to be tensed up and it's going to be a little bit harder to fizz it properly. So I'll normally fin clip them for like an hour, take a peek at them. If they're still wanting to roll, then I fizz them.
Okay.
But fizzing is the best by
What
far.
is deep?
Deep?
Yeah.
I think technically anything where you get to look into fizzing fish is anything over 15, 20 feet, I think technically. I mean, I'm sure like a lot of us, in the wintertime, I've caught fish in like 80 foot on Lanier, even deeper. But yeah, I think technically anything, I mean, someone can probably look it up, but I think that the fish can't get after, I think 15 feet or deeper is when they can technically start getting the bends, or something like that. But yeah, it just depends.
Yeah, what is the scientific term for the fish bends? That's what we need to look at. That'll be the question next week. All right, scroll on down there. Sonar Pros needs did I miss one? Michael Temples. There we go. Let's get Michael. Trent, have you heard about the latest issues with Garmin's update that has screwed auto stabilization up?
So that was the last update. The new update that came out last week has 100% fixed it.
Okay, so that was the one before this one.
That was the one I was talking about that had the problem. It was a known issue for sure.
Okay, so now all you need to do, get the new update.
Yeah, it'll fix it. Yep.
Fix up. All right, so there we go. Appreciate you watching this, Miss Terry. Oh yeah, we'll do that question too. King of Bass, how much is the Sonar Pros wiring harness installed? Maybe a ballpark answer.
So our pricing on the harness varies on how many devices you have. So we've got a harness as cheap as $100. And then it can go all the way to like $600 if you've got like 7, 8, 9 devices.
Yeah, because that's one thing your harness does. Everything's individual.
Yeah,
within the harness.
so the price varies on how many devices you have. And then as far as install, generally speaking, for us to do a harness at our shop installed, it's about a 2-hour ordeal for us to do it. So it's 2 hours labor for us to do a harness install itself. The only reason I say it really depends on how your boat's rigged, because we have to take all your grafts off to get access to pull wiring through the boat. Sometimes if the boat's rigged right with good mounts, it's a quick uninstall. We get some boats where, I've told someone, hey, it's a 2-hour job to do a harness, and it's a 4-hour job just to get their grafts and all their stuff removed. Yeah. So it generally speaking, a harness, it's about a 2-hour job, but a lot of times once we get into a boat, that opens up a can of worms to other things we find. And we're always going to give recommendations once we get in the boat, like, hey, we saw this. If it was rigged by us, we would do it this way instead. So, but yeah, generally speaking, a harness pricing depends on how many devices. Ranges anywhere from 100 to worst case 600. And then you're about 2 hours labor for the install. But most people setups like a one console, 2 bow plus module, that harness is $350.
Okay.
Was mine a rat nest?
It was it was a little disorganized. It's nice and clean now.
Well, thank you.
There you go.
I knew it was.
Yeah.
You knew what it was
Up
getting
front,
into?
I knew that.
Yeah, she was in the front was rough. Yeah.
There you go. Do you recommend running all your power wires on a different side of the boat versus the transducer wiring?
No, because generally speaking, if you go to I always mix up starboard and port. So I'm just gonna say the left and right hand side.
Driver's side.
Yeah, driver's side. So the driver's side of the boat's typically where your 12-volt accessories go, and then the passenger side of the boat is where your troll motor wire is. I see the number one mistake I see a lot of people make is they hear somewhere that you need to run your power wires away from transducers, and they put it on the passenger side, which then parallels your troll motor circuit. That will produce interference. So there's nothing wrong with running transducers near power cables. The only thing to watch out for is your motor leads. I see a lot of times where when guys run transducers in the back of their boat, they'll kind of like coil it around the power leads for their motor. And since that motor outputs a frequency due to the alternator putting energy in the battery, that can produce interference. You always want to straight line pass any power wires in your boat. Don't coil anything at the main power areas. So
I love the tips.
You got to straighten that out.
He had to fix that. Excuse me. I pull up Chris Stubbs' angling right there. We're talking about the fizzing and all that. General rule of thumb is 1 atmospheric pressure unit for every 30-ish feet of water, meaning if you catch a fish at 60 feet,
Yep.
the water pressure on it is 2 times that for us on land.
Yep. I knew someone would be able to.
There
There is a scientific reason for
we got the
thought process around it.
The guys that
Yeah.
watch this show
There
always
goes
have
our
an answer.
question next week.
Oh, I got a better one for next week. So, what's up, Robert Robleski? Trent's the best. Got 2 harnesses and never had an issue one bit. So, hey man, I hope he's in Tennessee now.
Yeah, he moved.
Yeah, I think
Yep.
he moved. Yeah, old dog right there. So, hope you're enjoying life up there. All right, pull up now. Is this Angling Adventures or I guess okay, Angling Adventures? I have a Helix 2 Generation 2. I went and did an update. Now all of my side imaging has lost its crystal clear image. Looks kind of grainy. What can I do?
Gen 2 units are you're kind of getting a little backdated. I think those came out almost a decade ago.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime you're dealing with older units that they're no longer supporting with software, it's kind of hit or miss with updates if it's going to be good or bad. The one thing I would look at is the last update I know for Helix. Now, the Gen 2 is interesting because the Gen 2 units was when they had standard side scan and then they moved into the early generation of mega side imaging. So depending on which unit you have, I'm just going to take, well, I'll just say for the simple case of you have a mega side imaging model, there's a possibility that at that time, what was a new feature, which was essentially side scan sensitivity and side scan contrast, that you might have to play with those settings now to get your crystal clear picture back.
Mm-hmm.
So I do know around that time frame was when they were making changes to added settings and side scan. So they're just with the new update you did, there might be new settings you need to manipulate. It's a possibility.
Okay, there you go. So Scott's got a question here. Lawrence, AT2 spear-shaped interference out to about 40 feet. Any insight on how to try and eliminate it?
I would need to see a picture of it. If you have a picture of it, go to our website and send me an email and reference that you reached out to me here. But I'll give a spit ball in the dark here. One thing to check first on the face of your transducer, you'll have the 3 rubberized cover, or it's kind of like a rubber feeling cover where the crystals are. Lowrances are a little notorious that when they're pouring that gel kind of material into the crystals of the transducer, they don't vibrate them right to get rid of bubbles, and there'll be bubble pops in the front of the transducer. You'll see it very clear as day. If you have those bubble pops, that's possibly creating that image. If it is, reach out to Lowrance. They'll warranty they'll even warranty it, I think, if it's out of warranty with that issue specifically. The other thing you possibly could be dealing with is depending on how your transducer is mounted, you want to make sure it's aligned to where the beam isn't overlapping on the foot of your trolling motor. That would cause an obstruction, which would cause that issue. And then the third thing is always check your voltage level. Make sure you're above 11.5 volts. I've seen any sort of drop in voltage cause picture quality issues too. So those are the first 3 things I would start with. If you don't have those symptoms, 100% reach out to us. Send me a picture of the picture you're seeing on your screen, and I can try to help diag from there.
Absolutely great. So Rob switched from C Clear to Sonar Pros, and it made a huge difference in every aspect. You know, I've heard
to hear.
You know, yeah, it is, and I've heard of that brand.
Yeah,
but not all brands are created equal.
Nope,
you know what I'm saying?
They're not.
So they're not.
Yep.
Chris has blown enough eyeballs out of walleye to see it firsthand. That's what we're talking about. That pressure. All right, Sam's got a question right there. How to know if your transducer on the hull is perfectly level with how your boat sits on the water, or does it matter to an extent?
It does. This gets back to the old school days when guys really cared about side scan and whatnot. But here's the best trick. It's kind of it gets a little technical, but it's not the worst thing in the world. So number one thing is if you're staring at your transducer head on, you want to make sure it's level left to right to start. That's the biggest thing. The next thing is we need to focus on pitch angle. What I've learned for boats is, generally speaking, you're going to want 2.5 to 2.9 degrees of positive pitch angle on your transducer. The reason that's important is when that motor gets put in gear and the propulsion of the motor pushes the back end down, it pushes the back end down. So if you don't have that positive angle of the transducer, your transducer will start pointing down. So the way to find this out is it's a little bit of a long process, but when you're on the water, put your boat in gear at your idle speed that you prefer. And that's a big thing because some guys will like to idle at slower speeds at 2.9, 3 miles an hour. And some guys like to idle at like 6 miles an hour. The more throttle you're giving to your boat, the more it's going to exaggerate that dip in the back.
Right.
So find the idle speed you like. You can there's some apps on the phone that are okay, But if you go to what I found is at Home Depot, there's a square little degree, essentially level. It'll tell you the degree angle it sits at. You want to put that, if you're sitting in your driver's seat, you want to put that pretty much in the middle of your back deck right next to you. See what that degree angle is while you're idling. Like I said, generally it's 2.5 to almost 3 degrees. You'll go back to, hopefully you have a level shop or find somewhere that has level ground, and you'll unhitch your boat from your truck, and you'll use your jack on your trailer or a floor jack to raise the front of your boat to imitate that degree angle in the middle again. Once your boat is at that pitch angle, say 2.8 degrees, and that degree level is saying 2.8 degrees, then you go to your transducer and level it. And then that gives you the exact level when your boat's in gear in the water.
Level it at 2.8 or just level
the transducer would physically be at 0 degrees level,
0.
while the boat's at the pitch angle of 2 point
What's
whatever.
that thing called at Home Depot?
It's square. It's like this big, and it's orange. I don't remember the name of the brand. Maybe Klein. I think Klein
makes it.
Klein Tools who makes it, and it's a degree angle measure. It's like $30 and it's magnetic too. They're great to have.
If Klein makes it, that's a good product.
Yeah.
They make good products.
Yeah. So a long way to answer that question, but that is the true way to get it exactly precise. I will say, like most of our installs, because I've pretty much figured out the average, it's 2.8 degrees. So the other trick is, if you want to just go off the number I'm telling you, on your back deck, put a level your boat to 0, and then raise your transducer up to 2.8 degrees of positive angle, and that'll do the same thing.
I hope people are taking notes. If not, you're going to have to give us some extra views. You're going to go back and watch all this, which I like that too. All right, Michael Temples. What about onboard chargers? Was getting some interference from it, so I installed alligator clips to leave unhooked while fishing.
If
so he's unhooking the charger while fishing.
If he's still on there, are you talking about a regular AC to DC charger like a Minn Kota charger, or do you have what's called a DC to DC charger?
Okay,
that's
so
what
Michael,
I would want to know to answer that question properly.
We'll come back to that question, Michael, once you answer that one. So let's go down to Alan Brooks. Do you find the battery charger percentage on the lithiums to be accurate? On the app, starting not to believe mine. Power pole charge, powerhouse, 212 volts, 248 volts seems to charge way too fast.
So when it comes to the power pole charge, I really wouldn't reference that app. I would more so reference the Powerhouse app. It's pretty close. So what's interesting about lithiums is it's all about what the cell voltages are at, and essentially the feedback the BMS is giving to report the percentage, the state of charge. I would say generally, in my experience, the Powerhouse app is really accurate. I have for the most part been able to see that they're well within the range of what they call to.
Mm-hmm.
I will say the Power Pole Charge app, while I love it, I have it in my boat. Its app, as far as state of charge and what percent your battery's on, is not the most accurate thing in the world. So always reference that battery app if you can.
Okay. There you go. All right. Justin Richardson. Let's pull that next one up there. So I have a Lowrance Ghost that is 6 months old.
Arrows on the head just blinked.
You read? Okay. So you read it. And it will not work. The arrows on the head just blink. Do you have an idea what this could be?
Yeah, Justin, reach out to us. That's probably more than likely what's called a head sensor failure. It is a known issue that's been going on with the Ghost for about a year. We're a service center for Ghost. It is right now we're seeing, once you get us the troll motor, we typically have that part within a week or two for the warranty from Lowrance. It's a pretty quick install on our behalf, but it's 100% you got a head sensor bad. Just reach out to us. We are a service center, so as long as it's under as long as it's under warranty, which you said is 6 months old, so it is. It's free of charge, and we'll get it taken care of for you.
Yeah. So that was a question I was going to have. When you do a warranty work, you're charging Lowrance your labor and all that. Lowrance takes care of your labor on most of that. How does that work?
Yeah, they have like if anyone's familiar with like the auto industry, from mechanics perspective, you have like what's essentially like a slot labor where essentially it says this is how long it takes to repair this,
right?
And this is how much we pay you. So whether it takes longer or shorter, I get paid the same amount. But yeah, they do. Yeah, Lowrance is
Medicare.
Yeah, Lowrance is Lowrance is fantastic with
They set a price, and that's
that's it.
If you do it quicker, you make money, and if you take longer, you lose money.
Yeah, Lowrance is great with their warranty stuff. The only problem, the head sensors has kind of been a broad issue. So their
Right.
stocking of the head sensors has been a little bit of a problem. That's why it takes a week or two to get the parts. But yeah, Lowrance is, as far as getting warranty approved, they're awesome. I mean, we love being a service center for them.
Okay, perfect. So Brad Silvers wants to know, what is the typical cause for the trolling motor causing interference with bow graphs?
That's a pretty typical indication you've got a seal failure in your transducer, and it's essentially, or not transducer, trolling motor, and it's essentially leaking voltage into the water, is the layman's term, is what I like to say.
Right.
That's typically the cause. It's not always the cause. I've seen other things where, like, to someone's question earlier, I've seen chargers start going bad, and then it's crossing essentially ground between your trolling motor system and your cranking battery, which is causing the interference too.
Really?
Yeah. So generally speaking, I would say most of the time I see the issue is it's a failure of the trolling motor of some kind,
Right.
or you're dealing with essentially what I would call a cross contamination situation, whether it's a charger, bad wiring. It could be a couple things. That'd be something where if we could get the boat and we can kind of, I can start testing
You
stuff.
can isolate it.
Yeah, I can start figuring out what's going on with it.
Okay, so Michael Temple said levels and quarters. Now that's
Yep.
So now you know.
Yeah, that's
it's
another trick. That's
Another trick.
That's another essentially
another
what I was.
trick.
The old school trick was take a bunch of pennies out there, and while you're idling, figure out how many pennies it takes to make the level
I got you. Okay.
level out, and then you go back to your shop, put those same amount of pennies on with the level, and then you can level your transducer.
There you go.
That's the old school way.
There's a lot of videos on that, but
100%.
there's no video of what you just described, how you do it.
Yeah, with the bubble level. Yeah, I just like it because it gives me the exact degrees. It's not like a penny
Yeah,
stack.
that
Sounds
out
like
there.
something he needs to make right there. You got a YouTube channel now?
Yeah, we're growing it.
Let
Yeah.
me tell you a funny story real quick. I did that with the level. I went out there,
Yep.
and of course, I take the most expensive level I got. And the phone rings, so I turn, and when I did, my elbow hit the level and knocked it
Gone
off
in the leg. Oh no.
About 40 feet deep.
Sounds like something I would do right there. So that's why you and I get along so well. All right.
What do you think?
Angling Adventures. What do you think is on the horizon with forward-facing sonar? And have you heard anything about the AI glasses?
Glasses? No. I mean, I think we'll eventually just see some. I don't think we'll necessarily see AI in the fish finders just yet. Maybe eventually. I think the next step for fish finders, I think, is probably going to be where they eventually communicate with cell towers, just to get more applications in the platforms. I think that's the big
That
next.
makes sense. Yeah.
That's the next big step, because I mean, what's crazy is like a 12-inch Lowrance is $3,300. You can go buy like a 70-inch TV for $1,500.
Yes, you can. Yeah.
There is a large variation there, in my opinion. So I think next is going to be like cell integration. There are next iterations of forward sonar coming out. Essentially, what you're going to see is either a 360-degree live view, or you're just going to see an improvement on where live is now, meaning better definition, better range. That's all you're going to see. You see a lot of guys start wigging out like, oh, you're going to count the scales on fish. We're never going to see that ever. Yeah.
You think the price of the transducers or the units themselves are like that because there's only 3 major brands versus 10 television brands?
100%. Yeah.
Well,
And you're about to see, because that ICAST this year was kind of interesting. There were some Chinese brands
I was getting ready to ask about this
that have
exact thing.
kind of came into the market. And I think once that comes in, unfortunately, because all our current brands are for the most part US made somewhat. Well, they're not US made. I take that back because they're operated in the US.
That's right. Yeah.
But
they're American
I think once the
companies.
China brands come in at lower price point doing the same thing, it's going to start impacting the
I
other
saw
brands.
that. Did you go there and look at it? Were you down there this year?
No, but I saw videos on
Okay,
it.
I saw it in person.
But yeah, I think what I think's next is, and Lowrance just took a big step in it, is how do you make these units perform the same at a lower price point?
Yeah.
Because Lowrance just came out with the Eagle unit that does forward sonar. Now it's not to the extent that AT2 is, but for the guys that were complaining about the price point, $1,000 for a 9-inch unit, and it comes with a forward sonar transducer, like that's kind of goes against that.
Yeah. All right. So Derek O. And Michael, I'll get back to your question, your original question, as soon as it is. Do you wedge trolling motors to get the forward-facing transducer to stay on plane?
100%, depending on what boat you have. It is very important to level that transducer, that trolling motor. Tritons are notorious for needing a wedge. Bullets are notorious for needing a wedge.
And you're putting the wedge under where it mounts to the boat itself.
Yeah, because if you look at some pictures of Tritons, or like Triton's a good example because the bow dips down on those boats.
Yeah.
It'll tuck the shaft of the troll motor will be going at a negative angle towards the back of the boat, which affects your transducer. A trick I did a small wedge on my Phoenix this year, and I'll forever run a wedge on my Phoenix going forward.
Okay.
Yeah,
Made that much of a difference.
Well, because now the beam is kicked up just like you'll see some tricks where guys will click their transducers back, which does help, but this just perfectly put the transducer on the right plane where I can see the waves on the surface now. So like tracking top water is money. Yeah. Yeah. So wedges make, depending on boats. Now, like your Ranger, for example, you do not need a wedge. Those boats literally sit like perfectly flat for the most part.
That was half my question. The other question is the price of the wedges.
They're expensive.
Very expensive.
Yeah, there's pretty much two guys that make them. The ones we buy are from Bass Fishing Electronics. He's at a much lower price point than the other guy. But I do know that like the cost, because the wedge is essentially a big block of ABS plastic that's then routed out. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of machine time for a tool to sit there and cut that wedge out. But yeah, they are kind of expensive. But I mean, like I said,
for a piece of plastic,
if you're looking for, if you're looking for an improvement on your boat that needs it 100%, if you're running like a Triton, a Bullet, Camus, what's the other? There's a few other brands, but yeah, if you can do pretty quick Google search these days and find out if your boat benefits from a wedge or not.
From a wedge. Yeah. All right, so back to Michael's question. Remember, we were talking about
AC to DC.
It's AC to DC. We're talking about his 4-bank charger.
He's getting interference.
Yeah,
so that's probably an indication that there is a, depending on how old your charger is. I have seen situations where that is an early sign that your charger is starting to go bad, and essentially your troll motor circuit and your 12-volt circuit are bleeding over each other via that charger. If you're unclipping, like to your point, I think he said he had alligator clips. If you're undoing that charger and it's getting rid of that interference, 100% your charger is going bad. And I would look into getting it either, if it's under warranty it or get it replaced. Because that's an early indication of problems with that charger.
With the charger.
Yep.
Is PowerPole the only one that runs charge on the run?
There's now like Powerhouse Lithium. They've got what's called a DC to DC charger, which is a small version.
DC
yep.
DC.
And that's what in your boat for that standalone lithium we put in. It has one of those. So there's variations of it now, but the PowerPole charge was the first one. Now there's companies like Powerhouse. They got DC chargers just for certain circuits. They're great to add for certain batteries.
Perfect. There you go. So Far Dog, there he is. There's my buddy from Oklahoma. Glad you joined us. Always good to see you. And then Alan Brooks, a great show tonight. Trent's the man. Thanks for sharing all this knowledge with us. Very informative. We'll be bringing the new boat up soon. And I'm going to say I get a commission on that because he made the decision based on tonight's show. You know what I'm saying? 100% right there.
Well, you're thinking, aren't you?
Man, got to make that money. I'm too fat to work in the club. So, Alex Purse, what is Trent's favorite presentation to throw?
Ooh. In general, a spoon. Like a flutter spoon.
Really?
Yeah.
I would not have guessed flutter spoon.
Yeah, if I can on any body water, it'd be a flutter spoon. Second thing would be a buzzbait.
Buzzbait, I could see. Yep. That's different. Okay. If Trent could only win one more trophy in professional fishing, because he has won some, what trophy and why?
I think the easy one everyone always says is the Classic, right?
Yeah. But I asked Emil this.
Yeah.
Would you rather win the Bassmaster Classic or the Angler of the Year?
Classic.
You would rather, because he said Angler of the Year.
The Angler of the Year from the perspective of you have notoriety from your peers.
Yeah.
Right? Classic is a career-changing win.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
I get that. I'd love to have that.
Yep.
King of Bass, what's the easiest and hardest brands of boats to rig?
Oh, so easiest. There's a few that kind of bundle together. Phoenix, Skeeter, Camuses. They're pretty close to each other. Some certain model Tritons are pretty easy. Hardest boats, any year model Ranger is absolutely the hardest to work on.
Why?
Because Ranger decided to foam every square inch of their boats.
Yeah.
Yes.
They have what's essentially like a tube that's corrugated. And whoever decided to put corrugated tubes in a boat needs to find a different career path, because fish like your snakes for running wire will get stuck in those corrugated tubes.
Yep.
Yeah. So there's I would say Rangers are probably some of the hardest boats to rig.
They won't sink though.
Vexus is pretty close to there, because Vexus is a bunch of old Ranger guys like Randy Hopper and them went and made Vexus. So there's a lot of crossover and how those boats are rigged. Now, Vexus made it even more difficult with the rigging tube doesn't go the full length of the boat. It breaks in 3 spots. So that makes it even more fun.
Seriously.
And then any aluminum boat. So
that's why he said, I see the Avid boats. Yeah, that's aluminum.
Avids are difficult.
Of course, I said it right.
Expresses are incredibly difficult to rig. I mean, like we've done a ton of them and we've learned tricks and tips and tricks, obviously doing it. I've made tools for certain boats.
Oh,
like I've got a specific rigging snake just for Rangers and so on and so forth. But yeah, like if you're taking a whack at your first rig job and you have an Express, you better have like a 30 rack in 3 days to get your boat done. Cause they're not fun to do.
It's going to take that. Perfect. All right. Matthew Smith, what's the plan for the 2025 professional tour? And I guess he's asking,
as far as me,
what's your plans for
I'm still waiting for schedules to come out. I think right now my plan is more than likely doing a division of the Opens, and then I'm probably going to hop in a handful of the Tackle Warehouse Invitationals, or I'll do a full schedule of the Invitationals and then mix in some other stuff. But leaning towards doing an Opens division, seeing how that goes, and then going from there is the plan.
Have they dropped their schedule yet?
No, they haven't. I mean, I know what it is, but they haven't officially dropped it.
When are they dropping it officially?
They were supposed to drop it at some point this week.
I knew it was supposed to be right around here. So classic winners are remembered 10 times more than anglers of the year titles, in my opinion. I would want to be remembered for sure.
Yeah.
I get it. Absolutely for sure. So Kerry Bell, the aluminum boats aren't that bad.
He has no room to talk.
Nah,
he's got a super badass electric only boat.
The baddest one I've seen.
Custom made electric only boats are not fun to rig.
Yes.
And if you look at the battery box in the back of his boat, it is tight with all the batteries he has.
Which is 196 volt? It's a 75 Stealth.
He's got 5, I think they're 55 volt batteries, if I remember right. He's at 150 volts.
Okay.
Which DC voltage normally doesn't pop you. I did find out at 150 volts it does.
Will.
It does give you a real good pop. And Kerry got popped one time on his.
Really?
Yeah.
Cameron Man Cleta says they're dropping that schedule tomorrow. But yeah, no, because I did heating and air and there's a lot of low voltage.
Yeah.
And you don't get popped, but as it goes up, it's at least enough
there's
to
a certain
kind of
threshold where it'll get you.
Yeah,
but like you can grab a hold of a 12 volt car battery, ain't gonna do nothing to you.
Exactly.
But yeah, 150 volts in his boat, it will.
Yes, it will.
It'll give you a little pop.
But a hell of a boat, Kerry. Hell of a boat,
it's super
buddy.
sweet.
Yeah, he's fishing for like 25.
But it's like
30 minutes
Miami
for him.
colors is the problem.
It's like what?
It's Miami color.
Yeah, it's that damn orange.
Yeah.
Just like that truck he drives.
Ugh. You
Like,
can see it from
Kerry,
10 miles away.
Anyway, whose truck is that? Well, that's got to be Kerry.
It's Kerry.
That's Kerry, because it's the only one I know.
Yeah.
That's Kerry Bell. Derek O. Are there industry conferences or user groups for people that do what you do that can provide input to boat manufacturers to build better boats?
Nope. Would love to, though. There's some changes I could offer up.
Yeah, I imagine the people in the aftermarket that do the aftermarket stuff, they see.
Yep.
They see
and there's restrictions that boat builders do have to be held to. Like we got a customer skiff at our shop right now. In the front, there's a fuel tank, and just so happens above that is where we need to mount a trolling motor. Well, between that fuel tank and the deck is foam. And it
nothing to grip
from a perception, you look in there and you're like, why does it look like they just sprayed foam all in there? And why is it up there? The reason being is the Coast Guard requires a certain amount of flotation foam in boats. And that was the only spot they could put it, knowing that if you're aftermarket going in there, you got to scrape all that foam out. But the Coast Guard and the requirements in what's called NMEA require that to be in there.
They do.
So there are things that I also understand from an aftermarket company like myself that we do that boat manufacturers can't do because of guidelines they have to follow. And then also there's a cost aspect to it, right? Like my harness in the boat builders world is overkill for what they think the boat needs to be, right? Because it's not the boat manufacturer's job to make sure their boat can have 6 graphs on it. Their job is to build a boat.
Yeah.
Just like the motor manufacturers, their job is to build a motor. And bass boats are unique compared to you look at like an auto manufacturer, they do everything in house for the most part, or somewhat, right?
Yeah, right.
Versus the bass boat builders, their job is to build the hull. Then they get to another vendor that builds the trailer, another vendor that builds the jack plate, another vendor that does the motor, another vendor that does the troll motor. their job is really just to build a hole.
Yeah.
So
they do what they got to do, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, don't get me wrong. Like, I've got a great partnership with Phoenix and I talk with them a bunch about stuff, but they also hit limitations on what they can do, as far as, but yeah, I mean, if there was a conference for all of us to get together and powwow, that'd be awesome. I don't see it ever happening.
Right.
Though.
I get that.
Yeah.
So, Shop Life, appreciate you joining us tonight right there. Will there be a competitor to the MBT screens?
There is. Sea Light just came out with theirs.
Explain what an MBT screen is for those that might not know.
Yeah, so NBT is a brand that came out with essentially mirroring monitors that also can control a head unit. So essentially how it works is you get a Garmin 86, 12, 10, 16, or 1243. The NBT essentially acts like an external monitor that mirrors it, and then it controls that unit. Now, it's not like a computer monitor where you can have two separate functions. They see the same thing on the screen. The cool thing about it is if you already had a Garmin that's compatible at your console, it allows you to run a really big screen up front at a lower price point, essentially. So it's essentially like an external monitor that mirrors. We're a dealer for NBT. We really like the units. I think they're great for certain applications. They've been great units overall so far. From a tournament perspective, the only thing that concerns me about them is they're reliant on another head unit, and the way you have to rig the boat, everything's rigged a little different. So, if I was a tournament guy running one, I'd probably try to get an extra one just to be.
Does that go against your screen inches?
No. Or no, it does.
Yeah, it
It's
does.
still
So
a screen.
like if you were an elite, that
counts as a screen. But yeah, the NBTs they're great units for what they do.
Okay.
But they're the downside to them is they only work with Garmin's, and they only work with the nicer Garmin's because of the way it interfaces. So they don't have any compatibility with Lowrance or Humminbird, nor will they probably ever have any compatibility.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that just because they like Garmin? They just got that relationship?
Humminbird and Lowrance won't work with them.
Well, you got to be so hard right there. All right, Max Brown. What's up, Danny? What's up, Max? Appreciate you joining us tonight. Kerry Bell with that ugly U sign that he's throwing up right there.
Yeah, that's terrible.
It is. It really is.
It's just terrible.
I wonder why he's a Miami fan. Is he from down there?
I actually, that's bad. Kerry and I are really good buddies, and I think he's technically originally from Florida.
Talking about the Miami Mullets?
The Miami Mullets?
Yeah.
I guess so. The Prisoners, all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
The U used to be good. He was probably like us that grew up with Chicago Bulls fans back when Jordan played.
The average age is 26.
Huh?
I mean, the average age is 26.
Oh, no, listen. Kerry's going to be giving me a phone call and all that. JPJ Fishing, what would your approach be late October at Hartwell or Lanier?
Depends on the state of turnover would be the big thing to kick off first. But as far as my approach, if it's pre or post turnover, I'm going to target brush piles throughout the day. In the morning, I'll probably do a little rock. There's a little sneaky rock stuff you can do with a worm and crankbait. But generally speaking, I'm going to run brush piles and probably keep a fluke in my hand all day.
Right, makes sense there. John says he's a welder and grabbing a wet rod several times over 35 years. Now he shakes a lot. I bet so.
Yeah,
I bet so.
Getting popped.
100%. Michael Temples, what made Trent get into the boat rigging business?
That's a great question. So kind of like accidentally in a way. So I used to do a lot of car audio. That's where I learned DC voltage back in my high school and early college days. I got into, so I've been fishing my entire life. Always, my dad and I had, had little V-bottom boats, and then we got a Lund and stuff like that. And I always was putting graphs and playing with stuff on it. And I've always been very mechanically minded. My other passion is cars. So I love to tinker on stuff. So anyways, when I got into college fishing, bought my first bass boat. I obviously put graphs on it. I remember I had a Humminbird 998 and a Humminbird 898. Went and cranked my motor over after rigging them up, and graphs turned off from low voltage. Put a new battery in there, didn't fix it. And I was like, all right, easy enough. This is a wiring issue. So like the first Sonar Pros wiring harness was an orange extension cord I cut the ends off of in college and ran to the boat and fixed my problem. Now that's not the way you should do it.
No, but I do know guys that have done that.
Yeah.
That's essentially what kicked things off. And then throughout college, refined my boat, rigged other buddies' boats, stuff broke on buddies' boats in college. And since we were all broke college kids, we were just putting stuff together.
Right.
And then over the years, just kind of evolved that, started rigging buddies' boats on the side and word of mouth people's boats in my garage. And then at one point in time, I remember I looked at my driveway and had like 6 boats parked in my driveway waiting to get rigged. And I was like, okay, we can probably make a little business out of this. And then just kind of evolved from there. So that's in a roundabout way how I got into it.
I love that. Zach Archer. I remember like you mentioned that last time you were on, like the very first time you were on.
Yeah.
That's right. We had that story right there.
Yep.
Had weird stuff happening with my Garmin forward-facing sonar unit. Where the screen picture rocks back and forth. I reset the unit and it fixes it. Also on my Hummingbird unit at the front of it.
Yeah, so the rocking at the front is a known issue with software with the Garmin's. Get on the new software that came out last week. It will fix that issue. If it doesn't fix it, calibrate your compass. If that doesn't fix it, then you probably have a bad position sensor in your transducer.
It seems like this new update will fix it.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a rampant I mean, I get like this phone call like 10 times a day.
So you're used to that question.
Yeah. When they came with the software fix, I was like, sweet.
Yeah, there you go. And now it's been kind of mentioned, but let's hit it real quick again. What's your favorite brand of boat to rig? You said the ones that are easy. But what's your favorite?
My favorite, I'll say this. Transparently, I am sponsored by Phoenix. I've been with them for quite a long time now. As far as fishing platform, storage, riggability, flexibility, Phoenix is the best bar none. And I'm not saying that just because I have one and I have a partnership with them. Truly, they are the most enjoyable boats to rig, fish out of, all that good stuff. I'd say from there, a strong number 2. As far as favorite boat, probably a Falcon would be next. And then probably from there, the new Icons. They're really nice to work on too.
They're really nice.
Yeah.
Just period.
Yeah, they're great to rig too.
They're just really nice.
Very easy to rig.
Andy Miller. What's up, buddy? How you doing tonight? New boat dealer rig. My active target sometimes gets a pulse across the screen. Do I have something wrong?
Possible. Again, that's kind of like what happened earlier. I would need to see it to know for sure. The big thing to note is this. When it comes to active target, it 100% gets interference from downscan in 2D sonar. So there's 2 ways to fix that. One, if the dealer is educated on Lowrance products, there is what's called ping sync that can be set up on that device, where essentially the yellow wake up wire off of your head unit connects to the blue wire off your active target power cable, and it will allow the unit to ping sync to alter the frequency ping rate on your downscan transducer to not interfere with active target. So to your point, there's a possibility the dealer didn't do that, which would exaggerate that interference. Or the second thing is just make sure to pause your downscan. Generally speaking, when it comes to forward sonar, the more transducers you can have off at the bow, the better. I try to only run my forward sonar and everything else be paused. That'll give you the clearest picture. Now, there's a third element. If you have improper wiring, boats wired, say your system's wired on stock wiring, that could cause interference as well. So there's a multitude of things there. You can definitely take my recommendations there to take a look at it, or give us a call and I can guarantee we can get your picture better if you're not happy with it right now.
Have you ever just sat and thought about just how much stuff is in your head when it comes to this stuff?
Yeah.
I'm listening to all the answers and all that.
See, this is like what's all in my head, but then like I'll get home and my fiance is like, tell me about her day. And I'm just like, seminar.
I'm the same way. I know it. I'm the same way. Zach Archer. I've had several, and guys, listen, I appreciate your questions. Y'all have made my job so easy, and Trent's done a hell of a job at answering them. I have had several issues with my units at the front of my boat. My Garmin unit, the screen picture for the forward facing would rock back and forth. So we just had any idea that just came up.
Yeah, it's. I think this has been a rampant issue. There is new software that came out last week that will fix that issue. If that software does not fix that issue initially, go into your sonar installation and recalibrate your compass. Just follow the on-screen directions. If that doesn't fix it, then more than likely your transducer position sensor in the transducer is having a failure of some kind. And if your unit's under warranty, you can get it warrantied from there.
Yeah. So that, again, back to that update. That update seems to be very important. Now, this is a loaded question. I'm going to read it, but whether you want to answer it or not, you can from Far Dog. How did the supposed boat rigger, the Bass Tank here in Oklahoma, John, be such a supposed Livescope king in Oklahoma, but when he fished the elites, he got, well, let's just say he didn't do any good?
So I know John really well.
Yeah.
Fantastic angler. Whenever you see someone not perform at the Elite Series or any tournament, you never know what's going on in their life, right? So there's always outside elements, and it's a lot of pressure fishing the Elite Series. You have a lot of money on the table. I mean, you got to cough up almost 50 grand in entry fees plus another 30 grand in expenses, and it's a whole different element moving from the Opens or NPFL to fishing a real tournament series, a real professional series like the Elite Series. It's a lot of pressure, and I'm not saying that's what happened to John, but just because he didn't perform on the Elite Series for 2 years does not mean he's a bad angler or anything of that sort.
If you make it that far, you're great.
Yeah, and then Scott Palmer, who's the current owner of, or is owner of the Bass Tank. He and I become good friends over the past couple of years, just talking. They run a great ship over there. Even though they're technically a competitor of mine, if you're in Oklahoma, definitely give the Bass Tank a call.
There you go. And if you don't want to, you can ship your boat down here to Trent.
Yep.
This is for you, Kevin. What's your secret of not taking old man power pills? Because every time I bring up that little blue pill, you always say, don't need it.
Hot wife.
Hot wife. That's the
She
smart.
takes care
That's
of
a
us.
really smart
That's
answer.
the smartest answer a man could say.
That was smart.
It's the truth.
I believe you. But still, even if you was lying,
I'm
that's
truly blessed.
You are blessed, and she's a very sweet lady. But that's still a very, very smart answer. I've had an issue,
My daddy didn't raise no fool.
There you go. Hey, listen, I believe you, dog. I've had an issue with my Humminbird unit where it goes black. Looks like the screen is busted. I have to take my trolling motor out of the water and restart the unit, and it fixes it. Any idea why?
That's one of those situations where I wish I had an answer for you. Probably get with us and get the boat to us. I don't mean that to sound salesy, but that could be literally a million different things.
Yeah.
Just give us a call. I can either help Diag on the phone as much as I can, or ultimately if you can get the boat to us, we can fix it or find out what's going on.
Yeah, there's sometimes that you're very scared, not scared, but you don't want to give an answer because you know that could be
I have seen that issue, and it can literally be a million different things.
This is a very interesting question because on Halloween, it is on a Thursday night. We're going to do a show, right? Halloween, you going to be here?
No.
Where are you going to be? You going to be giving out candy?
No, I'll be in Charleston.
Charleston? I plan on doing a show. If the guys want to come up and do it, and we are going to dress up. So, Tony, waking you up back there. You've done a hell of a job, baby.
I appreciate it.
For your first time ever doing the board, you've done a great job.
Back there.
No, he's doing great.
Hey, I appreciate that.
But what would you dress up for Halloween?
Sasquatch.
That would suit you. What
No.
about
So everybody sees.
what about you?
For dress up for Halloween?
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, Patrick Walters probably.
You just you
I'd
can wear
really
the
short
shorts.
Yeah.
And listen, you got to turn around all night so we just stare at your ass.
Yeah, that's what I would probably do.
Okay, Kevin, what would you dress up as?
Me?
Father Time?
I don't know. I haven't ever thought about that.
I haven't either. Yeah, well, let me think about that. I'll come back to that. So,
Probably John Travolta.
John Travolta. That's a good one.
That's
a good one.
That's a good one.
In my heyday, I could.
In your heyday, you could pull off.
You pull it off.
Could you dance like him?
I could split.
You could do a split. Could you? Can you still do it?
Hell no. I could probably get down. I wouldn't get up.
That's the answer to why you don't have to take them power pills. You ain't doing no stupid splits and all that stuff right there. So, Derek O, if your boat came from the factory with wires for graphs in their harness that are hot from the cranking battery, do you just tape them off or do you get rid of them?
We typically terminate them. So we have just a crimp connector that essentially terminates it. So like we'll run our harness through the boat, bypassing anything factory, and then anything that is factory, if it's an open hot, we'll just terminate it with a butt connector of some kind, typically.
Okay. Michael Temples, here's the most exaggerated question with forward-facing sonar. Does higher voltage really help the picture?
Absolutely not. There is no picture difference whatsoever between a 12-volt lithium, a 16-volt lithium, a 20-volt DeWalt battery, a lead acid battery, an AGM battery. There's pretty much this requirements, what I tell everyone. This is not technically the minimum, but to be safe, because graphs don't overly read the most accurate voltage on screen. If you are 11.5 volts and up, you're good to go as far as picture quality. Now, here is the problem that exists. If you are seeing a voltage drop from your cranking battery to your electronics, so say your cranking battery sits at 12.3 and your electronics are sitting at 11.2, you are having what's called an amperage draw, which is producing a voltage drop. essentially what's happening. When you have an amperage draw, that's going to make your battery not last as long. That's going to make your graphs heat up faster, which heat is the number one problem when it comes to poor picture quality, along with voltage. So what does happen with higher voltage systems is higher voltage requires less amperage, so it reduces that amperage draw, which can help with heat mitigation. Technically speaking, though, most of these unit manufacturers, when they get voltage input, so say 16 volts comes to the unit, the capacitors in the unit step it down to 12.5 to the CPU. So even though you're putting 16 in, it's not running off of 16. So here's my general rule of thumb. 16 volt batteries, is there a disadvantage to them? Technically, no, except for there is. Lowrance does technically say units can't go above 17 volts. Some 16 volt batteries will go above 17 volts. So if you put a 16 volt battery in a Lowrance system, you more than likely voided your warranty. But I like to do just 12 volt batteries. A 12 volt lithium sits at 13.1 volts for a graph battery. The nice thing about a 12 volt system is if you're on the road, and again, most of my stuff is tournament centric is what I try to think of. If you're on the road and you have a charger go down, you can go to Walmart and buy a 12 volt charger. You can't go to Walmart and buy a 16 volt charger.
That's true.
Right. So generally speaking, good old 12 volt battery is good to go. The biggest thing, making sure you have good wiring. Whatever your battery says it's at. So say your battery is at 13.1, you should be within 0.1 to 0.3 volts variation. That means your wiring's good. If you're having like a volt or 2 volt drop, then you got wiring problems in your system. And that's more of a bigger problem than just a battery type. So it's kind of a long way to answer that. But yeah, there is no performance difference between voltages as far as battery. As long as you're above the minimum. If you're above the minimum, you're good to go.
They probably went to that higher voltage battery because their wiring wasn't pulling enough.
And marketing.
Yeah.
And marketing. That's the big thing.
Yeah, and marketing.
What's better, the Navionics card or the CMAP card to go into a Lowrance unit?
Both, depending on the part of the country you're in. So when CMAP had their survey crew, I had 2 friends that were on the survey crew where they physically drove boats out on lakes and mapped them. So there is, for the most part, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, Alabama got mapped by those crews. So if you're in, and they did certain bodies of water, but CMAP is great for those lakes. Outside of that, I normally use Navionics because Navionics actually has mapping crews outside of that. But they're both good. I mean, really, if you're a tournament angler and you want the best advantage, run both mappings. That's the best thing I can say. Cause there's, even on Lanier, there's parts of the lake that Navionics is good. And there's parts of the lake that CMAP's good.
Right.
So I know that's a double-edged sword, but
I'm going to get to Ken's question, but I couldn't help but see Andy's Miller right there. You need to dress up as Papa Smurf.
that would be a good one.
You could pull that off. Do you know
I'm going to do the guy with the Dos Equis commercial. Remember years
the
ago?
most interesting man in the world? You could pull him off too.
Yeah. I don't normally talk politics, but if I did, I'd be voting for Trump.
Okay.
Donnie T.
Hey, I like it. There you go. You could do that. So Ken Pruitt wants to know, if ordering a new boat, can you tell the factory to leave the wires out of the boat so they can automatically put your harness in? And what do they tell them to save time if they know they want to get one of yours?
Yeah, I got some. We have some boat builders that will put our harness in. You know, if you order it and deliver it to them, or have us ship it to them, they will install it. Falcon has done that in the past. There are some boat brands that will not put authorized third-party products in boats. It's just how it works.
How about Bass Cats?
No, Bass Cat has their own harness they put in boats.
Okay.
But we still with Bass Cats put our harness in. Yeah, generally speaking, I mean, if you're buying a brand new boat and you want us to rig it, I don't mean this from a perspective of like I'm trying to get more labor, but the more blank de-rigged the boat can come to us, the better, because there are situations. I'll use the trolling motor is normally the number one problem. There are situations where boat manufacturers will clock. Again, a boat manufacturer assembly line, it's a bunch of different people working on the boat. So there's different variations. Well, the problem we run into with a trolling motor specifically is a lot of times, sometimes you'll get one guy on the line that will clock a trolling motor too much inward. And if you're trying to put two big screens in the front, we then have to unmount, drill new holes, and clock that trolling motor outward more to fit the graphs. So I tell most people, if you're buying a brand new boat and you want us to rig it, truly, in case in point, if you bought all your graphs through the boat builder, no problem whatsoever. Just ask them to rig the boat loose, and then that will essentially give you the boat with all the parts in a box for us to get it and then rig it. It's generally what we do. Send it loose.
Following that question with the trolling motor.
Yep.
Is there an easy step or trick to getting it where it won't bind when you tighten down the 6 screws holding it down?
Bind in a sense like it won't. It'll.
It's hard to pull up or down.
Yeah. There's a little bit of there. It depends on the boat. Ultimately, is that happening on your boat?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You can put a rubber mat underneath it, which will help even the tension. But I don't like doing rubber mats because that brings in a flex aspect.
Right.
You can essentially I'll get an impact driver and I'll play with the torque setting, and essentially I kind of align it to like putting heads on a car where you're going to go diagonal from everything and do incremental torquing. So I'll do that and keep testing it, pulling up and latching until I hit the threshold of that right-hand corner, hitting it with 50 foot-pounds, locked it up, and then I'll back it back up to 30 foot-pounds, essentially how I'll do it. But that's essentially what you can do to prevent that.
There you go.
I hope you did that.
I'll put it on the list for the guys to do in the morning.
Okay. Matt Pritch, what's up, buddy? Appreciate you guys watching us, and I love you guys. So let's see. Brian Partake. I'll mess up. Is it Brian Partake? Partake. If I messed it up, listen, I mess up everybody's name. So I apologize in advance for that, Fish. And this is an awesome show. Lots of great info here. Absolutely. And it's all about the great questions that the people ask and the guests. There was a real quick question, Tony, for you. And guys, we got about 3 or 4 minutes, and we're gonna, this man's got a job and he's got to get ready to take off for a thing. So we're gonna end it. But if you've got him on there already, we'll ask him real quick. But Tony, real quick, 4 fall baits, throw them out there.
I'm gonna go with jerk bait, jig, topwater buzz bait, and I'm gonna go subsurface with a fluke.
There you go. So that Carrie Bell wants to know: is there a 7-pound spot in Lanier? I think so.
There is.
I think there's 8-pounders in there.
They're smart.
Yeah, they didn't get that big by Big Dumb.
Some guy caught a 9-pound smallmouth up.
Yeah, up north, I think it was giant.
That was
9.
It was stupid looking. Brian also wants to know: what about running higher volts to the GLS 10?
Yeah, it's the same like I said earlier. It makes no difference.
No difference.
Yep. As long as you're above 11.5 on average, you're good.
All right, let's scroll down. Let's see. Shop Life on the LVS 34. What's the best settings to adjust for bait visibility?
Number one thing by far, get your color gain up to 75 or 78%. Your actual gain, I like to run it anywhere from 72 to 78%. TVG on low. And then from there, noise reject on low or medium. And then that's pretty much all I'm going to play with from there. And then forward range, down range is what you can play with from there. But as far as settings, those are my favorite to run with.
All right, there you go. Derek O. I'm on my second Garmin Force after the first wouldn't latch properly. And now the second one pops out when I turn it and hit the gas. Do you see a lot of problems with them?
Not that specific issue. That I think that probably alludes to what you were talking about earlier. More than likely, you have on the front of your boat on the fiberglass, it's probably not perfectly level. And when the bracket was torqued down, it is essentially bending, which is creating that issue. So just look at your front deck, and if you notice that there's inconsistencies, you can do a trick like put a rubber mat or rubber washers if it's that bad, or get a leveling wedge for your boat. If it's a boat that needs one, those have a little give to them that will help with that issue as well.
All right, so we caught up on all the questions? Looks like we have. So we're going to end it right there because my board's got to go home right there. So first of all, listen, Trent, dude, you laid out the info tonight.
Oh, yeah.
And what was good about it was that's what I wanted you to come on for. Like we wanted
info.
Yeah. Info. But guys, listen, if you really want to know, call the man himself. If you really got those questions, he mentioned you can send them pictures of the screen. They can reach out on your website. You said that they could send that.
And we're getting pretty good about, thanks to old cameraman Cletus, we got a ton of content we're starting to dump on our socials too.
Yeah.
So we've got, we're getting, I'm going to try to post a lot more information like setup stuff, settings, all that good stuff. We're working on that with not only myself, but a bunch of our pros like Patrick Walters, Drew Cook, Drew Benton, Buddy Gross, all that good stuff. So definitely check out our YouTube, but also if you guys are looking to get installs booked, have any questions, or just looking for, buy any product from us, just give us a call. We're happy to help.
Yeah. Throw that number out again.
770-530-4505. And
are you still by appointment only?
As far as install is concerned, we are appointment only. I mentioned at the beginning of the show, we are moved into a new shop. We are working on the retail front, and then we're going to probably do our grand opening in either December or January. Just get with our socials. We'll do a big announcement probably 6 to 8 weeks before the event. We're going to have a bunch of our pros come in, and then once our storefront is officially opened, I will publicly post our address and you can walk in to
Yeah.
schedule an appointment, all that good stuff. But yeah, as far as getting an install booked, we like to operate a little different than traditional boat dealers. You know, your traditional boat dealer, you just roll up, you drop your boat off, and then 6-8 weeks later, they start working on it. We're appointment based so that we can schedule installs throughout the week.
Yeah.
And that we can, typically speaking, when your boat's dropped off within 24 hours, we start working on it.
I like Derek's comment right there on your contact page. Do you want a novel or just give me a call to schedule?
You can do that there on our contact page. There's two things. So there's just a general contact us, and then there is essentially a install request form. I will say the more info you can put on that install request form, so that I have information ahead of time, or my shop manager Ryan, we can call you and have a little bit of information ahead of time. It really helps us out. So if you're looking to book an install on the website, there is a install request form. It really helps us for that to get filled out.
Absolutely. And yes, he probably could hotwire my truck. You know, when you put it in park, that little switch underneath that lets it know it's in park.
Yeah.
Mine, I got to slam it a time or two. Susie's an old truck, man. She's an old truck. Again, man, listen. Number one, I appreciate you being a sponsor here.
Yeah, no problem.
I appreciate you being a sponsor on the Toys for Tots tournament, December 7th. Go back and watch it. And again, follow us on Fishing with George. I'm going to put a lot of information out. And again, you know, it's going to be very fun watching your next step fishing.
Yep.
We'll still root for you and all that.
Oh, yeah.
Watch you and still sit back here and like, come on, dude. But over the last few years, getting to know you.
Yeah,
That's
definitely
the best part of all of it. So appreciate you coming on. You did fantastic, guys. I hope you appreciated all the information. You're going to have to watch this episode 2 or 3 times to get it all. But again, you guys out there in the comment section, you make the show. Thank you for making my job easier. Tony, for your first time running the board, you did a
A+.
fantastic
Great job.
like
Thank
that.
you guys. Thank
And
you.
Kevin, I got to say thank you for your participation in the question.
It's all in a night's work.
It's all in a night's work. You're fantastic. So, guys, hey, listen. Again, thanks, Trent. To all you guys out there, hey, we love you. We appreciate you. Next Tuesday night, Brooks Anderson. Guys, if you're around Lanier, you know him. This kid's up and coming. We're going to be talking about how to fish deep, whether it be brush, timber. We're going to be talking about how to fish deep. A lot of guys got that question. So join us. If you're fishing this weekend, first of all, be safe on the water. Number one, enjoy what you get to do. You know, the good Lord blessed us with some beautiful stuff to do in the outdoors. Enjoy it. And again, thank you for watching. We will see you on the next one Tuesday night. You guys be good. We'll see you. Now click that button.